Chapter 49. Did you just call me young master, you? Chapter 49. Did you just call me young master, you? The juice of the fruit was in Feng Wu's possession, and all she had to do was get the hell out of here. However, Feng Sun was gripping her wrist hard to try and keep her safe, so tight that blue veins popped up on the back of his hand. Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun with her limpid, bright eyes, the look in them indecipherable. Feng Sun still had no idea that she had removed the juice from the fruit. Yu Minji was steadily losing ground against Jun Linyuan. Out of the corner of his eye, he spotted Feng Wu, whose wrist was in Feng Sun's grip. Yu Minji's face turned livid immediately. The ugly girl was his woman. How dare Feng Sun hold her hand? How dare he? Yu Minji called out a command to the head of the elders, who had rushed to his aid. Go over there. Seeing that his young master was losing out to Jun Linyuan, the head of the elders shook his head in resignation, but still turned around and charged at Feng Sun. It became quite the challenge for Feng Sun to protect Feng Wu once the head of the elders began his assault. Run! Feng Sun cried at Feng Wu. Feng Wu gave Feng Sun one last look, not quite knowing how to describe her feelings at that moment. Of all the people in the team, Feng Sun was the one she felt the most guilty about lying to. I promise I'll make it up to you after I get my strength back, brother Feng Sun. Feng Wu clenched her fists. The next second, she dashed away as fast as she could. No one noticed her disappearance, or even if they did, they probably couldn't care less. Feng Wu kept on running. All she could think of was getting to the foot of the mountain. Now, once the juice left the fruit, its spiritual essence would start to dissipate rapidly. She was afraid that she would lose all of it before even leaving the mountain. An idea then struck Feng Wu, and she quickly transferred the juice into a bottle, then filled the pouch of the switching needle with another viscous liquid, which was star aloe vera juice. From appearance alone, star aloe vera juice was no different from immortal spiritual fruit juice, as both were thick, transparent, and limpid. Only after that did Feng Wu let out a breath of relief. Looking at the thumb-sized white porcelain bottle in her hand, Feng Wu smiled wholeheartedly for the first time since she got here. Her entire face seemed to light up as she beamed. Finally, she had gotten hold of her immortal spiritual fruit. After taking it back home and refining that 9-transformation spirit restoration pill, she would be able to resume her cultivation. The good-for-nothing fifth daughter of the Feng family was going to reverse her situation for good. Just then, a cold voice interrupted her reverie. Ugly girl, I see that you're a fast runner, a grumpy voice said behind Feng Wu. Feng Wu's heart sank. Yu Minji. She was never going to outrun Yu Minji, and it was that realization which stopped Feng Wu from trying anything else. Turning around, she greeted Yu Minji with an obsequious smile. Young master Yu. Young master Yu? Yu Minji's wickedly mesmerizing, amorous eyes narrowed, and he smirked maliciously. Did you just call me young master Yu? Young master. Feng was lifted off the ground, and she struggled violently. Yu Minji's eyes spat flames of rage as he stared at her. She could almost feel his wrath burning her skin. The longer Yu Minji stared at Feng Wu's tender, pink lips, the angrier he got. All of a sudden, he raised a hand and flipped his sleeve at Feng Wu. Was he going to hit her now? Feng Wu's stomach lurched. However, before she knew it, Yu Minji was wiping her lips with his flamboyant pink sleeve. He rubbed so hard that it was obvious he was upset. Feng Wu glowered. What are you doing? Chapter 50 Feng Xiaowu. Stop right there. Chapter 50 Feng Xiaowu. Stop right there. Yu Minji puffed out his cheeks. You heartless, fickle woman. Do you even know what shame is? How dare you kiss Jun Linyuan? Have you forgotten that you're my woman now? Feng Wu finally knew what all the fuss was about. But why was he so angry? My hands were tied, okay? I only did it to get the juice of the fruit. Feng Wu retorted confidently. Plus, since when was she Yu Minji's woman? He was making things up. Yu Minji smirked. There were 100 ways to do that. Was it your only choice? Feng Wu stared back at him. But that was the most straightforward and effective one. Look, I got the juice, didn't I? Yu Minji's face was livid as he pointed at Feng Wu's forehead. Just admit it. You wanted to kiss Jun Lin Yuan, and you still like him. You just can't get over him. Is that it? Feng Wu looked the exasperated Yu Minji up and down, then said out of the blue, "Yu Minji, you're not actually falling in love with me, are you?" Yu Minji's cheeks flushed at those words, and he panted with rage. Me? Like a woman with loose morals like you? Don't flatter yourself. Great. Glad to hear that. Patting her chest, Feng Wu was relieved. Yu Minji, on the other hand, was so furious that blue veins popped on his forehead and his chest heaved. However, Feng Wu said light-heartedly, "Since you don't like me, and I feel the same about you, we'll go our separate ways from here, and hopefully we won't see each other again." After that, Feng Wu dashed out at top speed. Yu Minji didn't see that coming. His face nearly turned green as he bellowed, "How dare you? Get back here!" He was going to chase her when he realized in utter frustration that his shoes were stuck to the ground by some super glue. What was worse, the glue had seeped through the soles of his boots. He was going to take his shoes off and go after her, but his feet were also glued fast to his boots. He had been set up by that ugly girl. When had she set the super glue under his feet? How come he never noticed? Yu Minji had never felt so humiliated. He bellowed after Feng Wu, "Stop right there. You ugly girl. Have you forgotten that excruciating, soul-destroying, bone-crushing, mind-poisoning pill of 10,000 ants? You'll die a miserable death." Feng Wu, who was already 100 meters away, found his threat ridiculous. She turned around and made a face at Yu Minji. "Young Master Yu, that's a really big name for some pink laxative pill." Pink laxative pill? She knew. She had known from the very start what it was. So, she had been faking all along. Thinking back to all his elaborate threats against her, Yu Minji found himself such a clown. Damn it. Infuriated, Yu Minji pounded his fist on a tree trunk. "Feng Xiaowu, stop right there. You'll wish you were dead when I catch you." How dare she trick him? The girl had messed with the wrong guy. At those words, Feng Wu ran even faster. There was no way she was going to stay here. Arg! Face livid, Yu Minji was driven over his limit by his rage. He broke free of the super glue, but the sudden exertion of power also injured his internal organs. He spat out a mouthful of blood. "Feng Xiaowu, stop right there." Yu Minji ignored his internal injury completely. All he could think of was catching Feng Xiaowu, this ugly girl. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder. Shit. Chapter 51, Upsy Daisy. Chapter 51, Upsy Daisy. Feng Wu looked over her shoulder. What she saw was a furious Yu Minji charging at her at lightning speed. Feng Wu's pupils contracted. "Feng Xiaowu, stop right there. One more step, and you're dead." Even from this distance, Feng Wu could still vividly sense Yu Minji's fury. Hadn't she glued his feet to the ground already? Shifting her gaze downward, Feng Wu saw Yu Minji's bare, bloody feet. She was astonished. Shit, how much did Yu Minji hate her? He would rather sustain an internal injury than cut her loose. Stop. She wasn't ready to die yet. Thank you. Feng Wu cried out and quickened her pace. This wasn't good. Stop there. Stop. Despite his internal injury, Yu Minji was still a talented cultivator. Without any spiritual essence, Feng Wu was never going to be his match. Feng Wu could hear the sound of the surging tide in the big river a short distance away. She ran as fast as she could. She ground her teeth. Quickly. She was dead if he caught her. 1,000 meters, 500 meters, 100 meters, 50 meters, 10 meters. The river, aka her escape route, was getting closer, but so were Yu Minji's footsteps and snarls behind her. Feng Wu was ecstatic. As soon as she jumped into the rolling waves of that river, she would be safe. However, when Feng Wu was 3 meters away from that big river and leapt up, ready to dive in, snap! Yu Minji grabbed Feng Wu's leg in midair right away. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. Another half a second, no, a tenth of a second, and she would have been in the river. Yu Minji would never catch her in the water, for she was a brilliant swimmer. But Feng Wu had been that close to freedom when Yu Minji stopped her and held her up off the ground. She struggled, flailing all four limbs. Yu Minji rolled his eyes when he saw Feng Wu's swimming movements. Did she think she was in the water? Was she doing arm strokes? Yu Minji was elated to see Feng Wu's predicament. Holding Feng Wu over his head, he smirked. Why aren't you running now? I'd like to see you try. Feng Wu felt like screaming. However, she didn't think herself completely hopeless, for it was Yu Minji who had caught her, not Jun Lin Yuan and his people. Feng Wu's heart nearly stopped when she thought of Jun Lin Yuan's eternal poker face. And when she imagined how betrayed Feng Sun would feel when he found out the truth. Feng Wu couldn't bring herself to continue thinking about it. Hence, facing just Yu Minji, Feng Wu was capable of being unbelievably shameless. Yu Minji, what are you doing? Put me down and let's talk. Yu Minji had caught Feng Wu by her left leg. However, being as wicked as he was, he tossed Feng Wu up, and when she fell back down, he caught her on an open palm as she lay there on her stomach. Yu Minji snorted inwardly at Feng Wu's words. How dare this ugly girl sound so righteous after what she did to him? Where did she get the courage? What am I doing? Ha ha ha. Do you think I'll let you off the hook that easily? You're my toy now. I can play with you however I like. Yu Minji raised Feng Wu over his head as he spoke then. Chapter 52, Dear Brother Yu. Chapter 52, Dear Brother Yu. Yu Minji actually, after lifting Feng Wu up, he began to spin her around on his right palm. It was as if he wasn't holding a human being, but a handkerchief like what they used in fold dances. He spun, and spun her, and went faster, and faster still. Feng Wu's stomach churned. She was so nauseated that she was really going to throw up. Damn you, Yu Minji. Yu Minji, you moron. Feng Wu retched. We can talk about this. Just put me down. Yu Minji was all the more pleased when he heard Feng Wu's exasperated voice. She had tricked him, and now she was threatening him? Forget it. Hence, he spun her even faster. Feng Wu wanted to cry. She realized then that Yu Minji was a guy that would yield to a soft approach but would reject force. Dear brother Yu, you're the best. I'm sure you'll never bully a girl, right? I really want to throw up, brother Yu. Feng Wu nearly made herself sick by addressing him that way. Yu Minji hated to admit it, but he indeed softened at that gentle, pleading voice. Apart from her pretty eyes, this ugly girl had such a nice voice too. Her saccharine voice could melt a guy inside out, making them do anything for her willingly. Bah, how could he have such thoughts about this ugly girl? He must have lost his mind. Yu Minji stopped that train of thought immediately. He cleared his throat and stopped spinning her. Do you know what you've done wrong now? Feng Wu nodded her head repeatedly, looking as docile as a lamb. Brother Yu, I'm sorry. I really am. Yu Minji was over the moon to see her so obedient, but he wouldn't show it and still kept a straight face. You know that now. Feng Wu was in fact very anxious at that moment. Since Yu Minji had caught up with her, Jun Lin Yuan, Feng Sun, and the others would also be here soon. With Yu Minji, she could eat humble pie or hold her head as high as she wanted, but with Jun Lin Yuan and Feng Sun, she was too embarrassed to even think about it. Hence, Feng Wu spared no effort in cozying up to Yu Minji so that she could be on her way as soon as possible. Hence, she asked in her most naive voice, Brother Yu, can you maybe put me down first? Yu Minji was guffawing in his head. Ha ha ha. No longer the arrogant girl a moment ago, are you? Beg me to let go of you. No, I can't. Yu Minji rejected her outright. Feng Wu clenched her fists in frustration, but she took a deep breath and fought back her vexation. Brother Yu, you want the juice of that immortal spiritual fruit, don't you? Feng Wu took out a white porcelain bottle from her chest pocket and shook it in one hand. There, this is it. Brother Yu, please take it. Yu Minji snorted inwardly. What a cowardly girl. He had expected her to be much more stubborn than this. As it turned out, she had offered it to him before he even asked. Yu Minji then reached out for the bottle. All of a sudden. Chapter 53, You Killed Xiao Wu. Chapter 53, You Killed Xiao Wu. All of a sudden, The cork of the bottle burst out with a pop. At the same time, a puff of white powder scattered in Yuminji's face. Cough, cough. Unable to dodge in time, Yuminji's face was covered in that powder. He hadn't let his guard down, but Feng Wu had such an advantageous position, and he simply had no chance. Before Yuminji could react, Feng Wu kicked him in the face. Poor young master Yu. Feng Wu nearly broke his pretty nose on that gorgeous face of his. Yuminji was instantly dazed. For as long as he could remember, he was the one who gave others a hard time, not the other way around. Even when he got injured in a fight, no one had ever been able to touch his face. Everyone knew how much Yuminji cared about his beautiful face. But now, someone had just kicked him in his fair face hard. Young master, the head of the elders, was approaching them fast. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. That was the most prominent of Yuminji's elders. Moreover, she could make out quite a few other footsteps behind the man. Jun Linyuan and Feng Sun had to be coming this way as well. Feng Wu was vexed. While Yuminji had yet to recover from the initial shock, Feng Wu shifted her body and slithered off Yuminji's palm like a sleek fish, dashing toward the wide river. Splash! Only then did Yuminji realize what had happened. Cough, cough. He wiped his face as he coughed. However, the powder Feng Wu used was so potent that both of his eyes were swollen red. Yuminji couldn't see clearly, but he heard the sound of her jumping in. Without another thought, Yuminji jumped in after her. Seeing that, the head of the elders was so anxious that he grabbed Yuminji right away. However, Yuminji threw the elder's hand off. Back off. I'm getting that ugly girl back. Yuminji burst into a fury. That ugly girl looked so timid just a moment ago and had called him dear brother Yu. But look what she did. What a wicked woman. He had never been tricked like this before. The moment Yuminji hit the water, he knew something was wrong. This unknown toxic powder the ugly girl threw over his face burnt like hell when it made contact with water. His swollen eyes worsened, and he couldn't open them at all, together with his bleeding feet and that internal injury. Yuminji screamed in anger. Ignoring the pain, he charged at Feng Wu like a shooting arrow. Feng Wu was startled when she saw Yuminji coming at her. She raised her hand and threw a white porcelain bottle at Yuminji's head. That's the immortal spiritual fruit juice you wanted. Take it. The bottle was aimed at Yuminji's forehead. After what happened to him a moment ago, Yuminji dodged involuntarily. Feng Wu took that opportunity to dive into the river. She was nowhere to be seen after that. Just then, Jun Linyuan and the others arrived in a hurry. Yuminji, seeing Feng Wu sink into the river and Yuminji going after her, Feng Sun was so furious that his eyes turned red. He bellowed, Yuminji, you killed Xiaowu. I'm going to kill you. Chapter 54. Could he tell the truth? Chapter 54. Could he tell the truth? Yuminji was going to scoop Feng Wu up after she dove in. But Feng Sun was on a rampage. He ran into the river and charged at Yuminji, splashing water all over the latter's face as he did so. Yuminji's vision was already blurred from the swelling, and the water only made his eyes worse. He had a chance to grab Feng Wu, but lost it completely at Feng Sun's interruption. Yuminji was furious, but that wasn't the worst of all. Feng Sun grabbed him by the neck and said through his gritted teeth, Yuminji, you bastard, what did Xiao ever do to you? You killed her. I'm going to kill you. Without another word, Feng Sun raised his fist and punched Yuminji in the nose. Thump! Poor Yuminji. How much had he suffered because of Feng Wu? His feet were bleeding, his eyes hurt, and he had sustained an internal injury, so much so that he couldn't dodge the incoming fist, and it landed right on the bridge of his prominent nose. As for the head of the elders, he wanted to help his young master, but was stopped by Jun Linyuan. Yuminji cursed loudly in his head. He could live with the fact that he had been tricked by that ugly girl, but that bastard Feng Sun had accused him of killing her. The girl escaped of her own free will, okay. But could Yuminji reveal the truth? No, because he would rather die than have another soul know how hopelessly he had been fooled. His male pride was at risk. Hence, Yuminji returned Feng Sun's blow. How dare you hit me? You killed Xiaowu. Die. Thump. 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 Feng Sun wasn't Yuminji's match, but the latter was greatly weakened after Feng Wu's successive traps, and the two guys ended up fighting to a draw. In the end, Jun Linyuan's angry rebuke stopped them. Enough! Everyone stopped what they were doing instantly and backed away to their own teams. It was now Jun Linyuan's team versus Yuminji's. Once Feng Sun got Yuminji off his back, he ran into the river immediately, but Feng Wu was long gone, leaving no trace behind at all. Tears welled up in Feng Sun's eyes. Yuminji's eyes were much better now, and he snorted at the look on Feng Sun's face. At that moment, Jun Linyuan knitted his nice thick eyebrows, the look in his eyes brooding. Yuminji gave him a half-smile. Your Royal Highness, did you only now realize there's something wrong with your immortal spiritual fruit? TSK, TSK, TSK. You're slipping. Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes. Since the fruit was kept in a white jade box, Jun Linyuan indeed hadn't found anything wrong with it until just then, when Feng Wu disappeared in the river. Something struck him as odd, and he examined the fruit. He then found out what wasn't right. Seeing Jun Linyuan's livid face, Feng Sun asked, Boss Jun, what's wrong? Wasn't the fruit with you the whole time? What could possibly happen? That's a very good question. After all the grievances he had suffered at Feng Wu's hands, Yuminji was greatly satisfied at Feng Sun's words. Resting his hands on his waist, he darted a gloating look at Jun Linyuan. Aren't you supposed to be the omnipotent crown prince? How could anything happen to that fruit when it's under your guard? Ha ha! Jun Linyuan's face turned grimmer. Boss Jun, Feng Sun was surprised. Chapter 55, it was supposed to be. Chapter 55, it was supposed to be. The look in Jun Linyuan's eyes was so gloomy and penetrating that everyone shuddered. Yuminji was still guffawing. How about that? I'm telling the truth, aren't I? Something happened to that immortal spiritual fruit, right? Ha ha ha. Feng Sun was going to argue with Yuminji when Jun Linyuan regained his poise. Staring at the fruit, which resembled white jade, in his hand, he frowned a little and said, This immortal spiritual fruit isn't what it should be. What? Feng Sun was so shocked that he nearly jumped up. How can that be? The fruit. Did we get a fake one when we picked it up on the cliff? Everyone turned their gazes to Jun Linyuan. However, Jun Linyuan shook his head, the look in his eyes cold. No, Feng Sun said anxiously. But the fruit has been with you ever since we picked it up from the top of the cliff. Could someone have switched it out on your watch? That's impossible. The look in Jun Linyuan's eyes reminded one of a cold, sharp blade sliding out of its sheath. He said calmly, It wasn't switched. It wasn't? What happened then? Feng Sun was confused. Jun Linyuan gave Feng Sun a mysterious smile, then tossed the fruit at the latter. Feng Sun caught it with both hands. After examining it closely, he couldn't find anything out of place. This was indeed the fruit they had obtained from the top of that cliff, wasn't it? Feng Sun then squeezed the fruit, and whoosh. Water spritzed out of that fruit. Caught off guard, Feng Sun had water all over his face. Ha ha ha! Seeing what happened to Feng Sun, Yuminji guffawed with his hands on his waist. He then pointed at Feng Sun, laughing so hard that he almost ran out of breath. Ha ha! You're dead. There's no hope for you. You've been poisoned, ha ha ha. Poisoned. Feng Sun tossed the fruit on the ground and jumped away immediately. But after feeling around his face, he found nothing out of the ordinary. He frowned at the water on his palms. That's just water, not poison. Yuminji, you liar. After that, Feng Sun tried to start a fight with Yuminji again. Yuminji broke into wild laughter. Water? Ha ha ha! Feng Sun, you idiot! What? Ha ha ha! That's wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison. Your skin will be eaten away and you'll die a miserable death. Ha ha! However, he was the only one making any sound. Everyone else kept their silence as they gave Yuminji strange looks. Yuminji's laughter sounded all the more embarrassing in the silence. He stopped short when he saw Feng Sun's clear, smooth skin. That wasn't right. Shouldn't the fruit be filled with wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison? Why aren't you dead? Yu Minji's face turned livid as he stared at Feng Sun in disbelief. Feng Sun rolled his eyes. Wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison? Are you nuts? No, it was supposed to be. Yu Minji tried to explain himself, but Jun Linyuan narrowed his eyes, and his eagle-like sharp gaze was now on Yu Minji. Something clicked in Yu Minji's head. He suddenly realized that he had revealed something he shouldn't have. Covering his mouth involuntarily, his eyes opened wide. Chapter 56. What happened to your eyes? Chapter 56. What happened to your eyes? Was it supposed to be wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison? Jun Linyuan repeated what Yu Minji said a minute ago. Yu Minji looked suspiciously guilty. Jun Linyuan stepped forward, keeping his sharp, unblinking gaze on Yu Minji the whole time. Yu Minji took a step back. It then occurred to him suddenly. How could he step back? He was supposed to be Jun Linyuan's #1 rival. He had to hold his ground. At that thought, Yu Minji stuck out his chest and tried his best to return Jun Linyuan's gaze with equal intensity. The look in Jun Linyuan's eyes was gloomy, dangerous, and brooding. It gave Yu Minji the creeps. A chill ran down his spine, but he struggled to keep his voice steady. Yes, you heard me. It was supposed to contain wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison. There should be venom in that fruit. Yu Minji gloated. On my instruction, the ugly girl inserted the wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison into the fruit. Jun Linyuan, I bet you didn't see that coming, but that ugly girl switched to my side. She's my woman now. She stole the juice of the fruit and poisoned it like I told her to. She was so obedient. Resting his hands on his waist, Yu Minji laughed. Do you want to know how I did it? It was really easy. I told her that I would make her my concubine if she did this for me. That ugly girl jumped at the offer and rushed back to finish her task. She would do anything for me. The head of the elders watched as Yu Minji guffawed and couldn't help but look the other way. Young master, have you already forgotten about your injured eyes? Yu Minji was still showing off his master plan. She was free lunch, so I thought, why not? I accepted her service, then instructed her to steal the juice of the fruit and replace it with wailing and screaming hypertoxic cadaver poison. Feng Sun, your life depends on me now. Feng Sun frowned at those words. He charged out again and grabbed Yu Minji by the collar. Who's that ugly girl you're talking about? Feng Sun, you idiot. Stop fooling yourself already. Who's the ugly girl? That Xiao you've been crying for this whole time, of course. Yu Minji smiled at Feng Sun, very pleased with himself. Can you see that now? Feng Xiao is on my side. She's my woman. Thump. Feng Sun punched Yu Minji. Yu Minji took a step back, dodging Feng Sun's blow, but he frowned. How come you're still moving around? Are you really not poisoned? That's impossible. He suddenly shifted his gaze to Jun Linyuan. It's your doing, isn't it? You found out about it and switched out the venom. Jun Linyuan smiled a little. It wasn't me. Who was it then? Yu Minji suddenly had a very bad feeling. Jun Linyuan didn't answer him. Instead, he looked around and asked casually, What happened to your eyes? Yu Minji felt like a bucket of cold water had just been poured over his head. His heart sank. Chapter 57. It's not real. Chapter 57. It's not real. My eyes fixed on Jun Linyuan. Yu Minji tried to say something. He swallowed, raised his chin, and glared at Jun Linyuan. My eyes are none of your business. Look what I have here. Yu Minji waved the white porcelain bottle in his hand. The ugly girl had smashed the bottle of juice in his face when she tried to get away earlier, and he had held on to it. Yu Minji said in satisfaction, Jun Linyuan, aren't you supposed to be this invincible, all-powerful man? Not only were you tricked by an ugly girl, she also stole a kiss from you. His laugh trailed off, for he was suddenly aware of the fact that the ugly girl had kissed Jun Linyuan. She had kissed Jun Linyuan. Meanwhile, Feng Sun looked like he had just been hit by a thunderbolt and stood there dazed. Xiao. Feng Xiao was... Did she do that on purpose? She deliberately knocked Boss June over, kissed him, and took the juice of the fruit when he was distracted. Feng Sun was flabbergasted. He then thought back to how attentive he had been to Feng Xiaowu this whole time and all the occasions when he had defended her and put in a good word for her. I told you. Feng Xiaowu is a mole. Feng Xiaowu is a mole. Feng Xiaowu is a mole. Fairy Miao exulted and repeated those words for effect. She glared at Feng Sun. How many more times do I have to tell you that? I've been trying to make you see all along that she's a mole. But what did you all do? You believed her. Look what's happened now. You've all been betrayed. She put all the blame on Feng Sun. Especially you. You were nothing but caring toward her, but what did she do to you? Did she give a second thought before she betrayed you? Feng Sun, I never knew you could be this stupid. Feng Sun was already blaming himself. He flared up at Fairy Miao's repudiation. Feng Sun punched an ancient tree nearby, which was so thick that it would take 3 grown men to put their arms around it. Crack! The ancient tree snapped in half and fell to the ground. Seeing how exasperated Feng Sun was, Yu Minji was all the more delighted. Ha ha! Feng Sun, no matter how pissed off you are now, it won't change the fact that Feng Xiaowu is on my side now. What did you say? I killed her? Ha ha ha! How can you be so stupid? Feng Sun stared at Yu Minji with bloodshot eyes. But you were chasing her into the river when we arrived. I saw it with my own eyes. Since he had bragged about Feng Xiaowu's defection, Yu Minji had to stick to the story. He would lie through his ass if necessary. Hence, Yu Minji smirked, reluctant to admit his defeat. Me? Chase her? I let her go first because I saw you people coming. Feng Sun, you're such a moron. It's not real, Jun Linyuan said suddenly. Glowering at Jun Linyuan, Yu Minji said angrily, Did you just call me a liar? Jun Linyuan, I've told you nothing but the truth. Feng Xiaowu was helping me. Jun Linyuan cut him off. Pointing at the white porcelain bottle in Yu Minji's hand, he said unhurriedly, It's not the real thing. Chapter 58, Stop Laughing. Chapter 58, Stop Laughing. It's not real? Ha ha ha. Did you just say that this juice is fake? Feng Xiao was working for me. Do you think she would give me a fake bottle? Ha ha ha. You people are pathetic. Yu Minji yanked the cork out. If you all think that I have a fake one, I'll just open it. Pop! A puff of white powder spewed out as soon as the cork was removed. It spilled all over the ground. Jun Linyuan and the others reacted in time and stepped back right away. However, Fairy Miao was also with them. Poor Fairy. She had clenched her fists in exultation at what had been revealed about Feng Wu. She was too excited to even speak, for she was completely absorbed in her thoughts, trying to frame Feng Wu for more things. She was still thinking when, poof, the white powder caught her right in the face. Cough, cough. Fairy Miao had been taking a breath when the powder hit her, and her eyes, nose, and mouth, her entire head was enveloped in that white powder. Everyone was dumbfounded as Fairy Miao was painted white by the powder. Yu Minji was equally shocked. He looked at the white porcelain bottle in a daze, then turned his blank gaze on Fairy Miao. It was that same white powder again. Again, Yu Minji burst into a fury. As if being tricked by that ugly girl wasn't enough, he had fallen for the same ruse again. He could be called unlucky the first time. He only had his stupidity to blame for the second one. Yu Minji's face flushed, then turned livid. It looked as if a storm was going to pour over his head. Fairy Miao's face was soon red and swollen, which looked exactly the same as Yu Minji's symptoms, so much so that Feng Sun blurted out, Yu Minji, your eyes were injured by the same white powder, weren't they? Yu Minji didn't know what to say. Feng Sun's brain raced. He smacked his thigh and cried out, That's right. Didn't you say that the bottle contained the juice of immortal spiritual fruit? You weren't tricked by the ugly girl, were you? Yu Minji gritted his teeth and shot death rays at Feng Sun with his eyes. The murderous look on Yu Minji's face confirmed Feng Sun's speculation. He burst into laughter right away. And after Feng Xiaowu tricked you the first time, You fell for it again? Ha 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 ha. That's just hilarious. You're so hilarious. Ha 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 ha. Minji wanted to punch the guy in the face. Xian, who had kept his poker face this whole time, suddenly spoke in a serious tone. Didn't you tell us that Feng Xiaowu is your woman? Feng Sun was laughing so hard that tears ran down his cheeks. Holding his stomach, he cracked up. You're killing me with that joke? Oh my god. How can you be this funny? That's got to be the joke of the year, haha. Feng Sun had been in a terrible mood when he found out that Feng Xiaowu had been lying to him. But when he saw what Minji had gone through, he felt much better now. Feng Sun, shut the fuck up. Minji's eyes were bloodshot as he stared at Feng Sun. Holding his stomach with one hand, which hurt from all his laughter, Feng Sun wiped the tears away with the other. Gosh, Minji, how vain can you get? You were tricked by the girl, but you lied to us and told us that you let her go first? The rest of Feng Sun's team was also laughing now. Minji flew into a rage out of humiliation. Stop laughing already. I'm not the only victim here. You all are. Instantly. Chapter 59, He's Not Angry. Chapter 59, He's Not Angry. All was silent, and no one made a sound. What Minji said was true. Everyone here was a victim, for they had all been running around for nothing. That girl had taken it all. The silence went on and on and on. Minji stared at Feng Sun, who stared back at him. Both were on edge, and a fight could break out at any moment. In the end, Feng Sun gave in first. He glared at Minji. I would so fight you if we weren't in a hurry to find Feng Xiaowu. Minji snorted. Bring it on. I'm not going anywhere. Feng Sun waved at him impatiently. I'm in a rush. After that, Feng Sun turned to Jun Linyuan and clenched his fists in a serious manner. Boss Jun, we must find Feng Xiaowu. We have to. Feng Sun had to ask her himself. Do you even have a heart? The look on Jun Linyuan's face was as indecipherable and aloof as ever. He nodded. Let's go. He turned to leave after that. Feng Sun threw a dirty look at Minji and followed suit. Shielding Fairy Muyao, whose face was still swollen, Xian left as well, his face still emotionless. Minji clenched his fists in vexation as he watched them leave. I'll give that Feng Xiao a good kick in the ass after I catch her. How dare she make fun of me? Young master, aren't you going to kill her? The head of the elders was bemused. That wasn't like their young master at all. The teenager would stab his enemy in the heart while he smiled mesmerizingly at them. After what that girl did to him, all he could think of were some empty threats. Had the girl upset him so much that he had lost his mind? The head of the elders couldn't help but throw another glance at Minji. Shut up. Minji glared at the elder. Let's go. Stay sharp. We must find that ugly girl before Jun Linyuan does. If someone has to kill her, it'll be me. Listening to their young master's empty threats, the head of the elders quietly pointed out the truth. Young master, it sounds to me that you can't bring yourself to see young master Feng Sun kill that girl. Shut up. Minji glared at the elder in exasperation. He was very angry. Sure. The head of the elders obeyed immediately. As Minji searched along the river in agitation, he rubbed his chin and became unusually quiet. Since their young master was so rarely like this, the head of the elders, who was always ready for a little gossip, stuck out his head and asked boldly, Young master, is there something on your mind? Would you like to share? Maybe we can help you with it. The 8th and 9th elders nodded in unison. It was just weird. Minji rubbed his chin, looking intrigued. Something wasn't right about Jun Linyuan, but I can't put my finger on it. What was it? The head of the elders said quietly, The crown prince has always been that way, composed, expressionless, indecipherable, and never letting his face betray anything. What's not right about that? Young master, you're overthinking it. Expressionless, expressionless. Ah, I know what it is. Minji snapped his fingers and cried out in excitement. I know what wasn't right about Jun Linyuan. He wasn't angry. He wasn't angry at all. Chapter 60, The Young Master's Verdict. Chapter 60, The young master's verdict. Yu Minji grabbed the hands of the head of the elders, his eyes wide open. We were all set up by Feng Xiaowu. Feng Sun was furious, and I had such a tantrum, but Jun Linyuan didn't even frown. Wasn't that strange? The head of the elders gave his young master a knowing look and vented his sarcasm inwardly. So, the young master was aware of his tantrum. Hey, answer me. Yu Minji was vexed when he saw the mind of the head of the elders wander off. The elder replied, yes. Yu Minji was satisfied. He went back to rubbing his chin and resumed talking. Let's analyze why Jun Linyuan wasn't angry. The first explanation is that he's so emotionless that nothing in this world can disturb him. But that's not it. The three elders turned to look at their young master in unison, then exchanged awkward looks. Since when did their young master think with his head? Looking into the distance, Yu Minji narrowed his eyes and shook his head earnestly. No, that's not it. If Jun Linyuan really was as indifferent and ascetic as Buddha, why would he travel thousands of miles to the northern border of the country for an immortal spiritual fruit? It must be very important to him. Yu Minji darted a look at the elders as he spoke. The three elders nodded repeatedly at him. Yu Minji was satisfied with that reaction. Still rubbing his chin, he analyzed. What was more, the ugly girl used such shameless tricks to steal the juice and even took Jun Linyuan's first kiss during the process. Given what a neat freak Jun Linyuan is, shouldn't he just smash that girl into a pulp on the spot? But he didn't do that. Plus, who is Jun Linyuan? The crown prince that has never been defeated. But he wasn't angry. Don't tell me you don't find that strange. So, young master, what's your verdict? All three pairs of eyes were on Yu Minji. Raising his chin, Yu Minji snorted. My verdict is that Jun Linyuan likes that ugly girl. The head of the elders shuddered. Young master, please don't make fun of us. Have you forgotten who Jun Linyuan is? He's the exceptionally talented crown prince, whose power is limitless. Would he fall in love with that ugly girl? He's not blind. Glaring at the elder, Yu Minji clenched his fists and tried to refute, but all words failed him. Just find her. Yu Minji waved his hand impatiently. But young master, Frozen Forest is so vast. How are we supposed to do that? Just follow Jun Linyuan. Yu Minji snapped. Isn't he supposed to be so brilliant? Follow him, and you'll find her. At the same time, after kicking Yu Minji away, Feng Wu sank to the bottom of the river immediately and let an undercurrent take her all the way downstream. Feng Wu knew perfectly well that Jun Linyuan and Yu Minji would do everything in their power to search for her. Hence, she didn't dare dally, but kept moving downstream as she held onto a piece of driftwood. She went ashore where the river divided into three. My immortal spiritual fruit. Looking at the transparent liquid in the white porcelain bottle, Feng Wu smiled. I can't refine anything here in the mountains. Once I'm back at home, I'll finish that 9-transformation spirit restoration pill, and I can resume my cultivation. Her long-cherished wish would finally come true. Chapter 61, Mu Jiuzhou. Chapter 61, Mu Jiuzhou. The faces of Jun Linyuan, Feng Sun, and Yu Minji flashed in her mind in turn, and Feng Wu felt especially sorry for lying to Feng Sun. Brother Feng Sun, I'm sorry. Feng Wu gripped the bottle and apologized in her head. I want to be able to cultivate again. Above all else, I want to wake up my beautiful master. So, I had to take the juice of that immortal spiritual fruit. Feng Wu caressed the dragon and phoenix spiritual ring on her index finger. With a wave of her hand, she entered the ring in her spiritual form, leaving her physical body outside. Feng Wu had partitioned off a small corner in the ring for her personal belongings and left most of the space empty. A spacious white jade ice bed stood in the center of the space. On the bed lay a figure dressed all in white. Fair, slender, and otherworldly, he reminded one of a god descending from heaven. Feng Wu went up to the bed and knelt down, keeping her back ramrod straight. She stared at that stunning face unblinkingly. Master, Feng Wu murmured at her beautiful master, who lay there with his eyes closed. His skin was fairer than snow and smoother than jade. He was elegant and poised, and looked as saintly as a banished immortal. Regardless of how much hardship she had to endure in the outside world, Feng Wu never shed a tear. However, tears welled up in her eyes as soon as she saw her master. Before she knew it, her cheeks were wet with tears. "Master, we're almost there." Tears rolled down Feng Wu's cheeks as she clenched her fists. "I promise you I'll refine that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill when I get back. Will you wake up when I resume my cultivation and activate my true phoenix blood?" As a matter of fact, the main reason Feng Wu took that immortal spiritual fruit wasn't for her own cultivation. It was just a means to an end, for it was only when she picked up her cultivation again that she would be able to find a chance to save her master. For that, she was prepared to go against the entire world, let alone Jun, Lin Yuan, and Feng Sun. She had to have that immortal spiritual fruit. Feng Wu would never forget her master's stunning, dreamlike debut for as long as she lived. She accidentally triggered the dragon and phoenix spiritual ring when she was 3. Magnolia petals drifted down, resembling pure, sacred snowflakes. Her beautiful master strolled out of that ring, carried by a gentle breeze. His robe was whiter than snow, and the soft cloth seemed to flow with the wind. He stood there tall and upright, looking so solitary and otherworldly. The sky was an azure blue that day. The trees were a lush green, petals drifted down like falling snowflakes, and birds soared happily in the sky. However, the moment he walked out, all the light seemed to fall on just him, and everything else was cast into shadow and withered. He became the center of the world. He crouched down, the layers of his wide, white sleeves spreading out on the ground. He examined the little girl with his brooding, beautiful eyes. The 3-year-old had her hair tied up in 2 tiny ponytails. She had delicate baby features and fair, tender skin. Her cheeks were as plump and bouncy as steamed stuffed buns, as if they would dimple at the lightest touch. Mu Jiuzhou had always been an aloof and graceful man. However, he couldn't help but stick out a bony index finger to poke a lovely, soft cheek. The little girl let out a soft cry at his touch and slumped onto the ground in slow motion. Instead of howling like other kids, the little girl rubbed her buttocks with her chubby little hands, but still kept her unblinking gaze on him, her eyes sparkling. "How cute!" the haughty Mu Jiuzhou chuckled. His smile seemed to light up the entire world. Astonished by his beauty, little Feng Wu only came back to herself just then and was once more lost in a smile more splendid than the sun. Chapter 62, Beautiful Master. Chapter 62, Beautiful Master. Mu Jiuzhou poked the little girl's plump cheeks and asked casually, "Little bun, do you have a master yet?" Infatuated, little Feng Wu stared at him and shook her head. Mu Jiuzhou found this chubby little girl the most adorable creature. He chuckled, which was very unlike his usually awe-inspiring self. "In that case, do you want to be my pupil, little one?" He had the cleanest smell in the world, so elegant that it felt like a crime to even think about defiling him. A delicate fragrance of plants surrounded him, so refreshing that she couldn't help but want to move closer. Little Feng Wu clenched her fists in excitement, but she managed to keep her composure and asked, "Are you very capable?" Mu Jiuzhou rose to his feet and stood ramrod straight. With his hands crossed behind his back, his long, wide sleeves hung down his sides. He looked every bit like what Feng Wu imagined an immortal to be. Standing up on her short legs, Feng Wu craned her neck to look up. To her, the teenager was so majestic and powerful that he seemed to have the whole world under control. Looking down at little Feng Wu, Mu Jiuzhou said casually, "Little girl, my name is Mu Jiuzhou. Jiuzhou as in 9 regions 1. Little Feng Wu said in amazement, "Wow, that's what we call our continent. What an awesome name." Mu Jiuzhou crouched down, held the little girl by her chubby short arms, and met her gaze, his eyes twinkling like the brightest stars. "That's because your master here named all the 9 provinces of this continent. Understand? Little Feng Wu hadn't understood back then, but she did later. Her beautiful master used to be the supreme ruler of this continent of 9 provinces, but he perished and turned into a soul which lived in her dragon and phoenix spiritual ring. Feng Wu used to ask him what happened, but her beautiful master only replied in a mysterious tone that she would find out when she grew up. Feng Wu knew that it had to be an epic, soul-stirring story, but she would only learn about it after her beautiful master deemed her capabilities worthy of the telling. She smiled bitterly all of a sudden. This was no place for reminiscing. Her top priority now was to leave the mountain, refine the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill, and wake up her beautiful master. After that, Master, Feng Wu knelt down before the solitary figure lying on the white jade ice bed. She kowtowed 3 times before rising to her feet and reluctantly left the ring. She ran down the slope of the mountain as fast as she could once she was out. She knew perfectly well that both Jun Linyuan and Yu Minji would spare no effort to hunt her down. Any other person would have a hard time evading their pursuit, but since Feng Wu was able to steal the juice from them, she wasn't going to be caught that easily either. After 5 years of studying frozen forest, Feng Wu knew this area like the back of her hand. Thus, she picked a quiet, meandering trail and snuck out of the forest. Feng Wu was finally back in northern border city. Looking up at the name of the city high above the grand city walls, Feng Wu clenched her fists in excitement. She was back, and in one piece. Upon entering the city, Feng Wu didn't go back home right away. Instead, she quickly got changed and put back on the normal outfit which befitted her status as the 5th daughter of the Feng family. Why? Isn't it Miss Feng? Feng Wu had only just walked out of the hidden corner of an alley when someone waved at her in greeting. It was a middle-aged woman carrying a basket. Annie Wong, I see you've been grocery shopping. Feng Wu greeted the auntie with a smile. Feng Wu had been living in northern border city for 5 years, and all that time, she never. Chapter 63, Friendly Neighborhood, Genius Teenage Girl. Chapter 63, Friendly Neighborhood, Genius Teenage Girl. Feng Wu had been living in northern border city for 5 years. During these 5 years, she never gave up on herself like the people in the Imperial capital assumed she would. On the contrary, the cheerful and lively Feng Wu connected with the local people and got along very well with them. She was well known to the locals. After removing her disguise and walking out of that alley, she was greeted by everyone she met on her way. Miss Feng Wu here. An old female vegetable vendor in her 60s beckoned at Feng Wu. Grandma Zhang, how can I help you? Feng Wu went up to the old lady with a grin. The weather's been getting cold lately. Is your arthritis acting up again? If so, come to my house and I'll write you a prescription for it. Grandma Zhang couldn't stop smiling. She turned to a middle-aged man next to her and sang Feng Wu's praises. Not only is Miss Feng such a pretty young lady, she has the kindest heart. I was better than last time from my arthritis and thought I would never be able to walk again. Miss Feng prescribed me some herbal medicines, and I was back on my feet. You don't say, the middle-aged man chimed in. My boy tripped and fell last time. He was throwing up, he had palpitations, and he kept twitching. The doctors couldn't do anything about it. They even told me to start preparing his funeral. It almost gave me a heart attack. My neighbors all told me to go find Miss Feng. Feng Wu chuckled awkwardly. She wanted to leave, but Grandma Zhang wouldn't let go of her hands. Please set her free. She wanted to go back home and refine that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill. The middle-aged man was still talking in great excitement. So, I picked up Puppy, my boy, and took him to the Feng family manor. Miss Feng stuck a few silver needles in him, and he was alive. She's such an amazing doctor. I bet she used to be an immortal once. Feng was embarrassed by the middle-aged man's exaggeration and waved her hands in a hurry. Uncle Zhao, it really wasn't that big a deal. I only did what I could to help. I was glad to help. Uncle Zhao said, but it was a very big deal to me. You've saved my entire family. Miss Feng, this elk leg is still fresh. Please take it. Feng Wu tried to decline the offer. Uncle Zhao, I really shouldn't. Of course you should. Miss Feng, You're saying that because you don't have anything to carry it with, right? There, I have a clean wicker basket here. I'll put the leg in, and you can carry it over your shoulders. Your brother will love it. Miss Fong, this is Snow Goldeneye beast breast meat. Make some jerky with it. It'll be perfect for young Master Fong to snack on. Miss Fong, here's some green orchid cabbages. They're just some seasonal greens. Please take some to make an extra dish for the young master's dinner. Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Had everyone already learned what a glutton Feng Xiaoqi was? She wanted to turn them down, but the local people were simply too enthusiastic. Led by Grandma Zhang and Uncle Zhao, they kept stuffing more food into that wicker basket. Before long, it was filled to the brim. Feng Wu was speechless. All right, thank you so much for all your kindness. Please go back to your business. I'm off. Feng Wu waved at them. Just then, one moment, please. Wait. A teenage girl hurried toward Feng Wu with a blue and white porcelain bowl in her hands. Lin Ling. Feng Wu recognized the girl, who was her age. Do you need help at your wonton stall? Lin Ling wasn't particularly pretty, but she had the brightest smile, which was very appealing. Chapter 64, Halt. Chapter 64, Halt. Lin Ling shook her head immediately. No, my wonton stall is doing great. After you taught Wang Xiaohu and his men a lesson last time, they never showed up again for protection money. Miss Feng, here's some snowy wontons my grandma made especially for you. She ordered me to give them to you. As Lin Ling said that, she stuffed the entire food container in Feng Wu's hand. She then waved goodbye at Feng Wu and promptly ran away, as if fearing that Feng Wu would refuse the gift. Feng Wu smiled wryly. The neighbors were simply too kind to her. Seeing that more and more people were gathering around her, Feng Wu waved at them in a hurry and explained with a smile, Grandma Zhang, Uncle Zhao, everyone, I've just come back from visiting a patient in our neighboring town. I really need to head back home now. See you around. Feng Wu hadn't been seen in northern border city for the past few days, so she had to have an excuse for it. Hence, she came up with that explanation, and, if necessary, the entire northern border city would attest to it on her behalf. With the wicker basket on her shoulders, Feng Wu marched on, turning back to wave at the neighbors every now and then. The neighbors started an animated discussion as they waved at Feng Wu. Was that Lin Ling the girl whom Wang Xiaohu almost took by force, because he wanted to make her his concubine? Yes, that was her. Grandpa and Grandma Lin tried to stop those men and were almost kicked to death by Wang Xiaohu. Thank God Miss Feng showed up in time and helped them out. Otherwise, we'd be visiting the graves of that family of three by now. Not only did Miss Feng save them, she taught them a skill so that they could make a living. You have to admit, there's something so special about the wontons the Lin family makes. We're so fortunate to have Miss Feng here in northern border city. She saved countless lives since she got here. She's like a living Buddha among us. Feng Wu didn't hear any of that conversation, for she was hurrying back home. Qiuling had been so panic-stricken 3 days ago when the eagle had snatched Feng Wu. She couldn't even begin to imagine what a chaotic state her home had to be in by now. Moreover, as the eagle carried her away, she had spotted the visitors from the Feng clan from the Imperial capital. They were led by Feng Yiran and Feng Lu, the oldest and the 6th children of the clan. They were Feng Wu's cousins, the offspring of her oldest uncle. Neither of them was the type one wanted to hang out with. The brother was a creepy hypocrite, and the sister was obstinate and capricious. Back when Feng Wu was first crippled, those two were the ones who had enjoyed humiliating her the most. Feng Wu quickened her steps at that thought, for she had to take care of the sentimental beauty, her mother, and her naive and kind-hearted younger brother. She was eager to find out how her mother and brother were doing now. The unknown scared Feng Wu. She ran as fast as she could. Soon, she reached the front entrance of the old Feng family manor. 2 guards stood on either side of the gate. Erect backs, emotionless faces, and ruthless eyes. One look, and Feng Wu knew that they were well-trained. Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. She had never seen them before, so they must have come from the Imperial capital. As expected, when she was about to enter, the 2 intimidating guards blocked her way by crossing their sabers together. Halt! Chapter 65. You'll come to grief acting like this. Chapter 65. You'll come to grief acting like this. Their voices were cold and detached, and to them, Feng Wu was without doubt a stranger. Feng Wu's face was colder. Her limpid, bright eyes now had a chilly look in them. Before she could say anything, a taunting female voice came from within. "Why, who do we have here? Who's making all that noise outside the Feng Manor?" The voice belonged to a teenage girl wearing a light pink dress. She came out the front gate and scanned Feng Wu from head to toe in a picky way. On the alert, Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. This was Feng Lu, the sixth daughter of their generation in the Feng clan, who was known as Miss Feng the Sixth. Back when Feng Wu was still the unmatched genius girl, Feng Lu was such a sweet talker and would follow Feng Wu around wherever she went. However, after Feng Wu was crippled, Feng Lu was the first to twist the knife in her back. Feng Lu stared at Feng Wu. 5 years had passed, and the then influential genius girl was now a mere good-for-nothing in a plain dress with a wicker basket on her back. However, her face was still so beautiful that Feng Lu wanted to destroy it. At that thought, Feng Lu smirked. "I see we got a beggar here. How dare you act out here? Throw her out." Her contempt, taunts, and arrogance sounded so righteous. Feng Wu snorted inwardly. In this world where martial prowess was valued above all else, it was only natural that one's ability to fight was their most important quality. Luckily, she had already gotten hold of the juice of the immortal spiritual fruit. Given enough time, she would refine the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill, which would solve all her problems. Feng Wu didn't say anything to Feng Lu. She only gave the latter a casual nod, then stepped into the house. Feng Lu didn't expect to get such a calm reaction from Feng Wu after doing all she could to provoke the latter. Moreover, the look Feng Wu gave her made her feel like a frivolous, quibbling child. It was so frustrating. Clenching her fists, Feng Lu cried out as Feng Wu walked away from her. "Stop there, Feng Wu." However, Feng Wu neither stopped nor reacted to her. Keeping her back ramrod straight, she kept walking at a steady yet brisk pace. Feng Lu waved her fists. "Feng Wu, how dare you ignore me?" She ran after Feng Wu, wanting to hit her, but was stopped by a big, strong hand. "Brother." Feng Lu looked up at her brother, exasperated. "Let go of me, brother. That brat ignored me. Who does she think she is? Does she think she's still that famous genius? Bah." Feng Iran, the eldest son of their generation in the Feng clan, was 18. Good-looking and tall, he had what it took to make girls squeal in excitement. However, he was sneering now. "Brother." Feng Lu glared at Feng Iran. "Have you forgotten already? When Feng Wu was still that genius back then, everyone idolized her, and she almost took your position as clan heir, and you're helping her now?" Feng Iran thought his own sister a hopeless fool. It didn't do her any good to speak everything that was on her mind. This girl was indeed spoiled. "Lu'er, smart men never have to tackle their enemies themselves." Feng Iran rubbed Feng Lu's head affectionately. "You'll come to grief if you keep acting this way." Chapter 66. Sob. Xiaowu. Xiaowu. Chapter 66. Sob. Xiaowu. Xiaowu. However, Feng Lu, the spoiled girl, brushed off his advice. "Of course you have to do it yourself. Where's the fun in watching the action on the side? Oomph. Who the hell does Feng Wu think she is? I'm going to give her a hard time. I mean it." After those words, Feng Lu threw off Feng Iran's hand and rushed back inside the house, smirking as she ran. "I'd like to see if she can stay this calm when she sees her mother and brother." When Feng Wu entered the middle court, still carrying the basket, what she saw infuriated her instantly. Her innocent younger brother was doing hard manual work in the spacious courtyard. He was naked to the waist, and she could make out some welts on the fair skin of his back. Covered in sweat, he was panting as he carried some bricks around. He was moving them across the courtyard. Carrying bricks? Feng Wu's eyes widened. Kaiwa, Feng Lu's maid who had grown up with her, stood there with an inky black whip in her hand. She cracked it loudly in the empty air and berated Feng Wu's younger brother like an exploitative supervisor. Faster. Finish your task, and don't even think about shirking. The young master and my mistress have made it clear that you're not resting until you've finished moving all 10,000 bricks. Feng Wu's beautiful mother was weeping like a pear blossom, soaking in the rain. Xiaoqi, my poor Xiaoqi, why isn't your sister here? Xiaoqi, are you all right? Does it hurt? Her mother wasn't called a beauty for nothing. Back in her day, she was deemed the most beautiful woman in the Junwu Empire. Her skin was fairer than snow. Her hands were so soft that they looked boneless, and she moved in the most graceful manner. In a word, her beauty was breathtaking. Now that she was crying, she seemed to outshine the sun, the moon, and heaven and earth. The beautiful lady then tried to run over to Feng Xiaoqi to help him, but Xiaoma, Feng Lu's other maid, grabbed her hand and stopped her. Gazing at the weeping lady, Xiaoma turned to look the other way. The lady was so beautiful, and her crying only made her more attractive. Even Xiaoma, who was a girl and Feng Lu's maid, couldn't help but feel touched by the lady's weeping. If it were up to her, she would readily loosen her grip and help the lady out. Feng Wu put down the basket and shouted, "Stop!" All eyes turned to her instantly. Feng Xiaoqi was the first to react. He was the seventh son of the Feng family and Feng Wu's own brother. Sister. Feng Xiaoqi grew up under Feng Wu's wing, and during the past 3 days of being tormented and abused, he had never stopped praying that his godlike big sister would descend the next moment and rescue him from this misery. Although his sister was deprived of all her cultivation, Feng Xiaoqi firmly believed that nothing in this world could beat his genius sister. Feng Xiaoqi yelped, then hurtled toward Feng Wu like a cannonball, so fast that the others didn't have time to react. "Sister, look what they did to me." Wrapping his arms around Feng Wu's neck, Feng Xiaoqi whined loudly. Xiao Wu sobbed. The beautiful lady also broke free of Qiaoma's grip. More precisely, Qiaoma let her go on purpose. All her weeping did nothing to mar her stunning beauty. Instead, it only accentuated how appealing she was. Stumbling toward Feng Wu until she caught her daughter by the sleeve, the slim, beautiful lady looked so delicate and touching. Sob, "Xiao Wu, my Xiao Wu, you're finally back." Feng Wu was the real pillar of this family of 3. The corner of her mouth twitching a little, Feng Wu rubbed her forehead in resignation. Chapter 67, Nice Try. Chapter 67, Nice Try. Despite her unquestionable beauty, Feng Wu's mother was, well, let's just say that she wasn't the sharpest tool in the box. She had lost most of her memory due to some unknown incident, and she only had the intelligence of a little girl. Hence, compared with the 12-year-old Feng Xiaoqi, their beautiful mother felt more like the youngest person in the family. As a result, Feng Wu had been the backbone of the family for the past few years, despite the fact that she wasn't an adult yet. Feng Wu's heart went out to the 2 family members weeping on each of her shoulders. She rubbed Feng Xiaoqi's head, then gently wiped away the tears from her beautiful mother's cheeks. How beautiful her mother was! Her eyes were clear and innocent, and her wispy eyelashes were dark and glossy. Whenever her mother cried, Feng Wu felt like crying with her. A few steps away, Sayue's grip on the whip tightened. She thought about rebuking them, but decided otherwise when she remembered Feng Wu's famed toughness. Just then, Feng Lu stormed in after Feng Wu. A crooked smile emerged on her face when she caught sight of the crying trio. "What do we have here? Why all the tears? Is someone getting thrown out now?" Feng Xiaoqi felt sick to his stomach just looking at Feng Lu, and blue veins popped on his fair, smooth forehead. You're an evil person. I hate you." Grabbing the black whip from Sayue's hand, Feng Lu smirked and pressed, "Tell me, what's so evil about me?" Feng Xiaoqi gritted his teeth. With his sister back, he felt much more self-assured now. He straightened his back and lambasted her. "You tortured me and forced me to move 10,000 bricks every day. I had to carry them from there to here yesterday, and you ordered me to carry them back over there today. What kind of request is that if it isn't torture?" playing with the black whip, a half-smile on her face. Feng Lu threw a sidelong glance at Feng Xiaoqi. My dear younger brother, you broke my glazed purple jade piece first. What's wrong with punishing you with some manual work? I didn't do it. You dropped it yourself. Feng Xiaoqi was so indignant at being wronged. Was all the reply Feng Lu gave him. Flipping the whip in her hand, she smirked in an arrogant manner. You haven't finished your task today. Get on with it, or I'll double it tomorrow. Sister, Feng Xiaoqi was obviously intimidated by Feng Lu. He then turned to Feng Wu, looking as pitiful as a puppy. Rubbing his head, Feng Wu shifted her gaze from Feng Lu to Feng Yiran. Feng Lu was impossible to reason with. Would Feng Yiran be equally shameless? Turning her limpid eyes on Feng Yiran, Feng Wu asked calmly, Brother, what do you have to say about this? Feng Yiran's face remained impassive, and he looked as reserved and elegant as a son of a respectable family should. Keeping his left hand behind his back, he frowned and stared at Feng Wu reproachfully. Wu, we've accepted the fact that you're no longer fit for cultivation, but how could you let the same thing happen to Xiaoqi, our brother? On guard, Feng Wu narrowed her eyes. Feng Yiran went on accusing Feng Wu in that self-righteous tone. Xiaoqi wasn't the most talented young man out there, but he wasn't useless either. He already started on his cultivation in the Imperial capital back then, but it's been 5 years. Why is he still only a level 1 spiritual master? Wu, even if you're jealous of Xiaoqi, how could you bring yourself to cripple him as well? The lofty and fatherly-sounding accusation instantly trapped Feng Wu in an awkward position. Feng Yiran, nice try. Chapter 68. What are you talking about? Chapter 68. What are you talking about? What Feng Yiran said was an accusatory threat against Feng Wu. All eyes were on Feng Wu now, waiting for her explanation. Feng Xiaoqi had already been a level 1 spiritual master 5 years ago, but why had he stayed that way after all this time? Of course Feng Wu knew the reason for it, but she wasn't going to make it known yet, as it was a secret. Feng Xiaoqi stopped Feng Wu and glared at Feng Yiran. It's my own fault. Why are you blaming my sister? She's the best sister, better than you can ever imagine. You'll never understand. That's right. Their beautiful mother glared at Feng Yiran as well. Feng Wu was gratified by their support. Because of their unconditional faith and care, a once lion-hearted secret agent had learned the warmth of kinship, which was why she had been able to endure her miserable defeat 5 years ago. She needed them as much as they needed her. Feng Yiran frowned, looking displeased. He had tried a few things in the past 3 days. He wanted to drive a wedge between Feng Wu and the mother and son by throwing mud at Feng Wu, but those two were the most stubborn fools who shook their heads at all the temptations he had to offer. They refused him time and time again. Nothing he said would get through. Feng Yiran was at a loss. Feng Wu was useless now. Why did they still put so much faith in her and believe that she could solve all their problems? What was so special about Feng Wu? Feng Wu gave Feng Yiran a half-smile. Brother, anything else? Feng Yiran frowned and assumed a dignified air. If you can't teach Xiaoqi well, I'll do it. Carrying bricks might look like punishment, but it's actually a way to temper his mind and strengthen his body so that he can progress in his cultivation. To subdue his spirit and exhaust his muscles so that great responsibility can be thrust upon him, that's some very big claim. Brother, can you even convince yourself? Feng Wu asked sarcastically. Feng Yiran clenched his left fist behind his back. This Feng Wu girl, she was useless now, but that didn't change her natural imposing manner. She was as proud and intimidating as ever, and one couldn't help but flinch at her presence. How annoying. Jun Linyuan and the others had no idea what was going on in the Feng family home. Right now, they were on their way out of Frozen Forest. Feng Sun was pissed the whole time, so much so that he jumped into a tree and shouted at the top of his lungs. He scared the magical creatures in the neighborhood, who thought that they were under attack, and they fled in confusion. However, one good thing about Feng Sun was that his temper went as quickly as it came. He felt much better afterward. Once he calmed down a little, Feng Sun began to feel a sense of guilt. He would steal a glance at Jun Linyuan every now and then as they walked. Jun Linyuan obviously noticed this, but his eternal poker face betrayed nothing. Feng Sun wasn't bold enough to talk to Jun Linyuan directly, so he turned to Xian Yi instead. Xian the second, Feng Sun said in a low, furtive voice. What? Xian Yi gave him a stern look. Feng Sun whispered, look at Boss Jun. Do you think he's acting weird? What are you talking about? Xian Yi frowned. Chapter 69. Are we really visiting the Feng family? Chapter 69. Are we really visiting the Feng family? He's not angry. Feng Sun snapped. We've traveled this far from the Imperial capital just for that immortal spiritual fruit. Now that it's gone, Boss Jun doesn't seem to mind at all. Don't you find that strange? Xian Yi tilted his head and pondered the question. You do see what I'm getting at, don't you? Don't you find it strange, too? Feng Sun stared at Xian Yi unblinkingly with his big pretty eyes, eager for a response. However, Xian Yi shook his head. No, I don't find it strange. But why? Feng Sun raised his voice in vexation, but covered his mouth almost immediately and went back to whispering. Why don't you find it strange? It's the strangest thing. And there's more. Which is... Boss Jun was actually lost in thought. I've been watching, and his mind is actually capable of wandering off. Holy crap. Feng Sun almost thought that he had been sucked into another universe. Xian Yi found him ridiculous. What's so strange about that? It's not, if it happened to anyone else, but this is Jun Linyuan we're talking about here. As in the Jun Linyuan, his mind wandered off. Xian Yi was speechless and shook his head. I think that Feng Xiao did this to you. You're suspicious of everything now. You really think that's normal? Feng Sun asked again. Yes, it's only in my head. Yup, but just keep walking. All right. A few moments later, Feng Sun turned to Xian Yi again. But I still find it strange. Boss Jun is so smart, and there's no way that he can't track Feng Xiao down. But this time, we have no leads whatsoever. That just doesn't make sense. He was Jun Linyuan, the guy who could track down the enemy general all by himself when he was only 7. How is it possible that he couldn't find a single girl? That didn't make sense. Not at all. Xian Yi ignored him and marched on. Feng Sun scratched his head. Was he being overly suspicious? Sigh, he blamed it all on Feng Xiaowu. At that thought, Feng Sun turned his mind to the girl again. That brat. If she shows up again, Once he switched to his chatterbox mode, Feng Sun couldn't stop. Running up to Jun Linyuan, he asked cheerfully, Boss Jun, where are we going now? Jun Linyuan didn't reply, but Fairy Muyao on the other side said loudly, didn't we agree that we'd visit the Feng family after this? You all said you were going to see Feng Wu. Young Lord Feng, don't tell me you forgot. Fairy Miao couldn't care less about the immortal spiritual fruit, nor did Feng Xiaowu pose any threat to her. However, she couldn't get over what Feng Sun had told her. The guy called Feng Wu a beauty and said that the crown prince was still betrothed to Feng Wu. Feng Sun smacked his forehead. Shit, I forgot all about that. Boss Jun, are we really visiting the Feng family now? All eyes turned to Jun Linyuan, and everyone waited for his decision. No matter what the others said, it was all up to Jun Linyuan. The look on the crown prince's face was indecipherable. They seemed to see a flicker in his eyes, but nothing was there when they looked again. Jun Linyuan gave Feng Sun a non-committal look. Do whatever you want. Chapter 70. Sister, why is your hand so cold? Chapter 70. Sister, why is your hand so cold? Do whatever I want? Feng Sun was surprised by that reply, then rejoiced. Ha! Since Boss Jun said we can do whatever we want, the decision is made, then. We're going to the Feng family manor. Since we've come all the way to Northern Border City, I'm not leaving until I see Feng Wu. Fairy Muyao said in her head, neither will I. Hence, she promptly offered her support. That's right. We're going. We'll see what Feng Wu looks like now. The team's mood was lifted right away by the decision. Everyone was in high spirits, especially Feng Sun. running around Jun Lin Yuan. He winked at the latter. Boss Jun, ho ho ho. Boss Jun, ha ha. The corner of Jun Lin Yuan's mouth twitched, and he turned away. And so, when they reached the entrance to the Feng Manor, Feng Wu and Feng Yiran were still standing there, staring at each other. Just then, He Chun, Feng Yiran's valet, arrived in a hurry. He looked anxious, but his eyes twinkled in excitement. Young master, He Chun went up to Feng Yiran and whispered something in his ear. What? Feng Yiran looked shaken and could no longer maintain that reserved, elegant demeanor. He cried out in surprise. His Royal Highness is outside with his men, and young Lords Feng and Xian are both here. Feng Lu's eyes lit up, and she was practically glowing. Her voice trembled with excitement. His Royal Highness. The Crown Prince is here, right outside. He Chun was shaking nervously as he nodded. Yes, just outside. Feng Yiran forgot all about Feng Wu and her family. He dashed out hastily, unable to keep his composure at all. Jun Lin Yuan was here, the almighty crown prince whom the Feng family had been playing up to, but with nothing to show for it. Feng Yiran and Feng Lu had come all the way here from the Imperial capital just to get a chance to meet Jun Lin Yuan. Now that the opportunity was on their doorstep, how could Feng Yiran not be exhilarated? The senior members of the clan had promised him the position of clan chief if he could somehow build a tie between the Feng clan and the crown prince. Ignoring how shaken he was, Feng Yiran ran out as fast as he could. Feng Lu shook all over from excitement, and her eyes shone. She no longer took any notice of Feng Wu, for Jun Lin Yuan was her greatest interest. Feng Lu ran out as well, almost as fast as Feng Yiran had. The brother and sister were soon out of sight. Before they knew it, Feng Wu and her family were the only ones left in the courtyard. However, Feng Wu had never felt so irritated. Jun Lin Yuan? Feng Sun? Xian Yi? Why on earth were they here? Had they discovered that Feng Xiaowu and Feng Wu were the same person? And had they found out that she had stolen the juice? Feng Wu's chest heaved and her heart raced at that thought, so fast that she thought it was going to jump out of her mouth. Sister, why is your hand so cold? Feng Xiaoqi looked at Feng Wu nervously. Sister, are you all right? No, she wasn't all right at all. She had been a wolf in a lamb skin in Jun Lin Yuan's team, and had used Yu Minji to steal the juice during the chaos. What was more, she had kissed Jun Lin Yuan. Holy shit. Chapter 71, Stunning. Chapter 71, Stunning. Sister, why are you blushing? Are you all right? Feng Xiaoqi asked anxiously. Feng Wu took a deep breath and was going to reply when Feng Xiaoqi said, Sister, is His Royal Highness the same crown prince that you used to be engaged to? Feng Wu was speechless. Blinking his clear, innocent big eyes, Feng Xiaoqi eyed Feng Wu suspiciously. So, are you nervous because of him? Sister, are you actually? No. Feng Wu cut him off immediately, clenching her fists to demonstrate how resolute she was. Feng Xiaoqi looked even more suspicious. On the other side, her beautiful mother was still holding on to Feng Wu's sleeve, all teary-eyed. She looked so delicate and vulnerable that it would pain anyone to see her that way. Mom, what's wrong? Feng Wu asked her weeping mother, very concerned. With her fair, smooth hands, the beautiful lady caressed Feng Wu's hair, face, and clothes in turn. Tears rolled down her cheeks and dampened her clothes. Feng Wu felt even more sorry for her. Mom, what's going on? It's all my fault. Choking with sobs, the beautiful lady took Feng Wu's hands. I failed in my task as a mother. Look, your hair is so dirty and it smells. And your skin, it's filthy. And your clothes. You're the fifth daughter of the Feng family. You shouldn't be wearing such coarse material. It's a humiliation for someone of your status. Her beautiful mother went on, still sobbing. You're supposed to dress elegantly, eat nice food, enjoy the finest materials, and smile without showing your teeth like a true, graceful young lady should. But look at you. You're living as rough as a wild monkey. It just pains me to see you this way. Feng Wu rubbed her forehead. All her mother ever wanted was to make her into the typical young lady of an eminent family who barely ever left her bedchamber. In her mind, that was the only way of living suitable for Feng Wu. However, that was never going to happen. Come, let's prep you. You cannot walk around looking like that. Crown prince or not, her beautiful mother couldn't care less. Feng Wu was all she cared about. Well, maybe Feng Xiaoqi would pop in her head every now and then. Feng Wu was eager to wash off the evidence she had brought back from Frozen Forest as well. Otherwise, Jun Linyuan would definitely pick up something with his sharp eyes. Hence, for the very first time, Feng Wu nodded happily at her mother's request. Sure, the beautiful lady's biggest hobby was to dress Feng Wu up. Consequently, in the last 5 years, she had spent all her spare time making clothes for Feng Wu all by herself. One had to admit that when it came to getting someone polished up, the lady was an expert. Feng Wu didn't want the whole shebang, but she eventually succumbed to her mother's tears. Anyway, she had already come up with an idea to repulse Jun Linyuan. When Feng Wu cleaned herself up and came out in splendid attire, Feng Xiaoqi was the first to express his astonishment. OMG, you! Feng Xiaoqi covered his mouth in shock, his eyes popping out. Who are you? Are you really my sister? Really? Feng Wu usually never put any effort into what she wore, and so far all her mother's attempts to dress her up had failed. Hence, despite her stunning beauty, other people only saw her walking around barefaced and in the plainest clothes. However, now that Feng Wu was rigged out her best, she looked stunning. Chapter 72. Heaven's Secrets Must Not Be Divulged. Chapter 72. Heaven's Secrets Must Not Be Divulged. Feng Wu had given it some thought, knowing that Jun Linyuan disliked a dull beauty the most, and since she couldn't change her face, she would do something about her temperament and make sure that Jun Linyuan would dislike her so much that he couldn't leave soon enough. At that moment, Feng Yiran and Feng Lu had reached the front gate. Seeing the group of people outside, Feng Yiran was so excited that he didn't know where to put his hands. After all, the Feng clan had declined to the point that it was no longer one of the 9 major clans, whereas Jun Linyuan was the future ruler of their supreme empire. Your Royal Highness. Lifting the lower hem of his robe, Feng Yiran knelt down. Feng Lu held her breath and lowered her gaze, looking as obedient as a lamb. She followed suit and knelt down after Feng Yiran. Jun Linyuan's haughty gaze brushed over the tops of their heads. Heart-pounding, Feng Lu couldn't help but look up, trying to steal a glance of Jun Linyuan. She saw his dark eyebrows and deep-set eyes, which had a sharpness to them that gave her the chills. Her gaze moved to his prominent, elegant nose, emotionless lips, and his well-contoured face, which reminded her of a marble sculpture. He had a noble status, he was unbelievably powerful, and he looked so unattainable that only made him all the more attractive. Feng Lu's gaze then met Jun Linyuan's. Jun Linyuan frowned out of habit, while Feng Lu became ecstatic. She trembled all over. Did the crown prince look at her? Was he attracted to her a little? The thought gave Feng Lu the shivers, as if a current had run down her spine, and she felt like she was eating honey. She could barely control the grin on her face. The others had no idea of the story Feng Lu was concocting in her head. Jun Linyuan gave Feng Yiran a nonchalant glance and a slight nod of his head. He then marched in before Feng Yiran rose to his feet, acting as if the latter didn't exist. Feng Yiran only found Jun Linyuan's indifference the most natural reaction. Straightening his robe, he hastily followed the crown prince in. Jun Linyuan walked to the very front with a grim face. From his matter-of-fact manner, one almost thought that this was Jun Linyuan's own palace instead of the Feng family manor. Feng Yiran walked behind him. Since he didn't dare speak to Jun Linyuan, he cupped his hands at Feng Sun and smiled obsequiously at the latter. Young Lord Feng, it's been a while since we last met in the Imperial capital. To Jun Linyuan, Feng Sun acted like an attendant, but the latter was as condescending as a young noble lord should be when talking to Feng Yiran. Darting a look at Feng Yiran, he replied with a casual Feng Iran asked in an oily voice. Young lord, would you be so kind as to enlighten me on the purpose of His Royal Highness's visit today? Feng Sun gave him a half-smile. I think the Feng clan might climb up the social ladder again. What? Feng Iran was at a loss. Climb up the social ladder. His eyes lit up all of a sudden. The Feng clan used to be one of the 9 major clans, albeit the most inferior one. However, it dropped out of that ranking when Feng Wu was crippled. Young Lord Feng, do you mean? Feng Lu cried out in surprise, then covered her mouth. Feng Sun smiled mysteriously. As the saying goes, heaven's secrets must not be divulged. Chapter 73. Who's the Cursed One? Chapter 73. Who's the Cursed One? There were grounds for Feng Sun's speculation. Since Jun Linyuan was still betrothed to Feng Wu, it was very likely that the Feng clan would benefit from the marriage, unless Feng Wu ruined the opportunity herself. Hence, Feng Sun acted on his own imagined cleverness and added, they say that the Feng clan is the phoenix maker. I can see that now one. However, Feng Lu took it completely the wrong way. As an expert in self-delusion and filling in the gaps of story herself, her heart raced when she heard Feng Sun's comment. The Phoenix Maker, a girl with the status of a phoenix that could elevate the whole clan. Feng Wu was definitely out of the question, so the most promising girl left in the clan was. Feng Lu felt the blood rush to her head at that thought. Gosh, the Crown Prince had feelings for her. Feng Lu clenched her fists and trembled in excitement. No one knew about all the wild imaginings in Feng Lu's head. Feng Iran watched as Jun Linyuan headed for the middle court, and his stomach lurched as he recalled that Feng Wu was right there. Deeming Feng Wu a stubborn, stupid girl, he presumed that Feng Wu had to hold a grudge toward the Crown Prince for breaking off the engagement. Fearing that the resentful girl would offend His Royal Highness, Feng Iran ran up to Jun Linyuan's side in a hurry, bowed, and gestured in another direction. Your Royal Highness, the main hall is this way. Feng Sun frowned. Feng Iran, are you stopping us from going to the middle court? What are you playing at? Feng Iran didn't dare keep anything from the Crown Prince and his entourage. He gestured with his hand and smiled awkwardly. To be honest with you, the middle court is right ahead, but a cursed person resides there, and I'm afraid that this person will offend my honorable guests hence. A cursed one? Who's that? Feng Sun asked curiously. Well, as you might have heard, a disaster befell the Feng clan, and this bane of ours is the reason we're no longer among the 9 major clans. As a result, we banished that person here to the old manor on the northern border. Feng Sun blinked. Don't tell me that by cursed one, you're referring to Feng Wu. Feng Iran was embarrassed. Sigh, how unfortunate. My poor family, Fairy Muyao, chuckled into her palm. She couldn't stop herself from grinning. She wouldn't admit defeat before coming to the Feng family manor, for she couldn't stand the thought of being outshone by a useless girl like Feng Wu. After hearing the contemptuous remarks of a member of the Feng clan, she was over the moon. Feng Sun, on the other hand, gave Feng Iran a strange look, which made the hairs on Feng Iran's back stand up. Feng Wu? I haven't seen her for 5 years. I wonder how she's doing now. I'd like to see her. Feng Wu smiled. Take us there. Feng Sun remained as haughty as a young noble lord should be toward Feng Iran and couldn't be bothered to show any consideration. Feng Iran turned to Jun Linyuan. The Crown Prince stood there with the same impassive look on his face and brooding eyes. No one knew what was going on in his mind. He neither opposed nor agreed with the suggestion. That non-committal manner only baffled Feng Iran further. We like to see her like right now. Feng Sun threw a dirty look at Feng Iran. Chapter 74. Walking Indirectly. Chapter 74. Walking Indirectly. Feng Iran wanted to say no, but that wasn't an option for him. He had no choice but to say, in that case, please follow me. But Feng Wu has a rather arrogant, resentful, and cynical disposition, and I apologize on her behalf now if she offends you in any way later. Feng Wu had no idea that Feng Yuan was bringing Jun Linyuan and the others over. Right now, she was tugging at the dress she was wearing, which felt over the top and wasn't her usual style at all. However, her beautiful mother and naive brother couldn't stop walking around her with sparkling eyes. The looks in their eyes made Feng Wu uneasy. Holding her mother's fair, soft hands, she pleaded, "Can we maybe try a different dress?" Feng Wu found this pink dress too bubbly and girly for her taste, and it didn't seem to suit her at all. The bright smile on the beautiful lady's face vanished instantly, like a bright blue sky darkening at the onset of rain. Tears welled up in her beautiful eyes and threatened to fall. She looked the most pitiful creature. She was going to burst into tears with one more word from Feng Wu. All right, we'll keep this one." Feng Wu smacked her forehead. She couldn't do anything about her mother. The beautiful lady smiled with tears still in her eyes. It was breathtaking. This flying phoenix pearl hairpin. It was indeed a dazzling and glamorous ornament, but it was way too grand. Right now, what Feng Wu wanted was to disappear into the background, not stand out in the crowd. The beautiful lady pursed her pink lips and gave Feng Wu an aggrieved look. Feng Wu said in a hurry, "Fine, we'll keep that on as well. But we have a deal. It's just for one day." Yes, her beautiful mother beamed at her. Feng Wu had decided to stay in this courtyard for the rest of the day. If everything went as planned, she should be able to avoid Jun Linyuan that way, and wouldn't have to put on any sort of act. That would be great. However, she just couldn't stop fidgeting. "Sister, are you that uncomfortable in nice clothes?" Feng Xiaoqi looked Feng Wu up and down. "Sister, if you walk out like this, I promise you that the crown prince will be swept off his feet." Feng Wu snapped, "Knock it off. Now, go have a look and tell me what's going on outside. Jun Linyuan is no Philistin who will be affected by a pretty face. He's like the most haughty man out there." "All right." Feng Xiaoqi nodded and ran out. However, before he reached the entrance, he shrieked and ran back in. Sister, not good. His Royal Highness is coming." Feng Xiaoqi hurried back, shouting at the top of his lungs. "Not good? His Royal Highness is coming." Jun Linyuan and the others heard everything Feng Xiaoqi said. Feng Yuan's face darkened right away. What was that supposed to mean? Did they have something against the Crown Prince? Just keep it to yourselves if that's the case. It was the Crown Prince they were talking about. They could sign their death warrants if they wanted, but don't drag the clan down with them. Feng Yuan wished he could throttle Feng Wu right there and then. Smiling obsequiously, he apologized to Jun Linyuan. "Your Royal Highness, that was so audacious of Feng Wu. That Feng Ichi-1 is also mentally challenged. There really isn't much to see here. How about we?" Jun Linyuan ignored Feng Yuan completely. Striding ahead on his long legs, he walked indirectly. Chapter 75, OMG. Chapter 75, OMG. By now, Feng Xiaoqi had reached Feng Wu. Sister, bad news. His Royal Highness is here." Looking over his shoulder, Feng Xiaoqi spotted Jun Linyuan right away. The boy's face went ghastly pale, and he was completely at a loss over what to say. Feng Wu looked up at the entrance. Jun Linyuan and the others looked in Feng Wu's direction at the same moment. Their eyes met. Rumble. As if a sudden clap of thunder had exploded in their heads, everyone froze on the spot. No one made a sound. Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu unblinkingly, with no idea how intense his gaze was. Feng Sun's mouth fell open, and his eyes were open so wide that his eyeballs could fall out at any moment. Even Xian Yi, the teenage prig, looked spellbound. Fairy Meow felt as if a thunderstorm had taken root in her head. Lightning streaked, and there were claps of thunder along with a heavy downpour, extinguishing all her self-delusions. Feng Yuan and Feng Lu were also rendered speechless. For Feng Wu looked amazing. How beautiful was she? She was as pretty as a picture, bright-eyed and comely. She looked radiant and was lovely enough to overthrow states and cities. She could break men's hearts with a wink. She looked like a gift from God, and one would forget all vulgarities in her presence. It was safe to say that all the excessive praise in the world wouldn't be enough to describe a fraction of her beauty. She was beautiful beyond description. OMG. Feng Sun was the first to react. He rubbed his eyes and rubbed them again. Am I having an illusion? I always knew that she was going to be a beauty, but I never expected this. She's gorgeous. Feng Sun turned to Fairy Muyao right away. See that? See? I wasn't lying, was I, when I told you that Feng Wu was beautiful? Now that you've finally seen her with your own eyes, do you believe me now? Fairy Muyao felt like throttling Feng Sun there and then. She wasn't blind, all right? She could tell how beautiful Feng Wu was. As much as she hated losing, she couldn't call Feng Wu ugly when the girl looked this stunning. Fine, Feng Wu was a real beauty, but did Feng Sun have to remind her constantly? He was doing it on purpose, wasn't he? That was so annoying. Fairy Meow glared at Feng Sun, her eyes spitting fire. On the other side, Feng Lu clenched her fists so hard that her nails dug into her palms. Feng Wu, what the hell are you doing? You dressed up like this as soon as you heard the Crown Prince was here. Even a blind man can see what you have in mind. When His Royal Highness's eyes finally landed on me, you're going to take him away. You wish. Feng Wu, on the other hand, she had never felt so frustrated. Jun Linyuan's eyes were so bright and had a sharpness that seemed to be able to see through everything. Stared at by those sharp eyes, Feng Wu was on tenterhooks. Her heart raced, and she became very twitchy. Calm down. I must calm down. The consequences would be unthinkable if he found out. Feng Wu curled her hands into fists under her sleeves at that thought. She had indulged her mother and let her dress her up like this so that these people wouldn't connect her to Feng Xiaowu. At a crucial moment like this, she couldn't afford any mistakes. With that in mind, Feng Wu took a deep breath and walked toward Jun Linyuan, keeping the lower hem of her dress off the ground. Her steps were as even as if she had measured them with a ruler, and she behaved as perfectly as a daughter of an eminent family. She stopped in front of Jun Linyuan, gave the courtesy sign of the highest respect, and knelt down. The daughter of the Feng family hereby wishes your Royal Highness happiness and peace. She followed the etiquette to the T without an extra step or word. She looked like a human-sized puppet that had no liveliness in her at all. The girl in high spirits, they remembered, was nowhere to be found. Jun Linyuan frowned a little. Feng Sun's mouth fell open. Chapter 76. What good will your beauty do you? Chapter 76. What good will your beauty do you? Feng Wu stole a glance at the others out of the corner of her eye after her greeting, and was very pleased by the astonishment on their faces. The girl in front of them was the polar opposite of the Feng Xiaowu they met in Frozen Forest. Even if they might have somehow suspected her before, they shouldn't now. Feng Sun rubbed his eyes, then rubbed them again. He was scared by what he saw. What the hell? Was this the lively Feng Wu they knew from 5 years ago? What happened to you in these 5 years? What turned you into this girl? I don't understand. Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu, then began to walk around her in circles, examining her closely. Feng Wu clenched her fists, but kept her face as stiff as a dull beauty should. She saluted at the others and said, as the daughter of a respectable family, I really shouldn't be meeting any outsiders. Now, if you will excuse me. After that, Feng Wu bowed, her slim figure swaying a little in the wind, and was ready to take her leave. You're not going anywhere. Feng Sun grabbed Feng Wu by her sleeve. Feng Wu could feel an intense gaze on her right hand, which seemed to prick the skin. Jun Linyuan was observing her. Caught between Jun Linyuan's and Feng Sun's attention, Feng Wu took a deep breath. She had to put on a convincing act, otherwise she would be paying a very big price. Looking up, Feng Wu stared at Feng Sun with glistening eyes, her tone flat and emotionless. Young lord, it's improper for men and women to touch hands. If your grace insists on behaving like this, I will have no choice but to crack my head open on the iron column over there to defend my virtue. That successfully scared Feng Sun off, and he let go of her hand immediately. However, he still stared at Feng Wu. It was just that he looked displeased now. Frowning, he murmured to himself, "Can 5 years change a person so much?" He still remembered that unrestrained Feng Wu when they fought each other back then. She never hesitated to kick him in the groin. But now, she wouldn't stop all this formal address, and she knelt down all the time. It was so upsetting. Feng Sun even began to suspect that a different soul was living in that body now. How could she have become such a boring girl? Feng Wu bowed at Feng Sun again. Feng Sun waved his hand in vexation. "Keep still and don't bow again. You're not a maidservant. What's with all these humble moves? I'm so frustrated with you." As the saying went, the higher the expectation, the bigger the disappointment. In Feng Sun's memory, Feng Wu had always been an aloof yet lively girl, who was as brilliant as the morning sun. Who was this prude in front of him now? Hence, Feng Sun flipped his sleeves and turned around grumpily. He seemed to be angry with himself as much as with her. Seeing Feng Wu like this, Xianni frowned as well, looking utterly disappointed. Fairy Miao, who had been astonished by Feng Wu's beauty, was elated to see how boring the girl turned out to be. "Ha! Feng Wu, what a waste of that stunning face of yours. That's such an off-putting personality. What good will your beauty do you?" Feng Yiran and Feng Lu exchanged looks. This was strange. Feng Wu had been all pushy and overbearing a moment ago. What was going on here? Chapter 77. Are you calling me blind? Chapter 77. Are you calling me blind? Feng Sun was so disappointed that all he could say to Jun Lin Yuan was, "That's it. We came here for nothing. It's so boring here." After having such high hopes of Feng Wu, Feng Sun was so upset that he felt miserable. "Let's go. There's no point staying here." Feng Sun waved his hand and turned to leave. Feng Wu clenched her fists in excitement. Were they leaving? Great. Move faster. Feng Sun wasn't the only one who was finding it unbearable. She was so fed up with playing this dull girl that she was on the verge of throwing up herself. However, Feng Sun stopped after a few steps, for he realized that Jun Linyuan was still standing there. The look on Jun Linyuan's face was gloomy and somber. Narrowing his eyes, he gave off a dangerous air, and no one could tell what was on his mind. "Boss Jun, are we not leaving?" Feng Sun sighed in disappointment. What was the point of staying here? "That's right. Get moving," Feng Wu prompted in her head. She had it all planned out. As soon as Jun Linyuan and his people left, she would go back to her refinery and make that 9-transformation spirit restoration pill as soon as possible. After that, she would be back on track with her cultivation. She simply couldn't wait. However, Jun Linyuan kept his intense, brooding gaze on Feng Wu, like the most dangerous beast ruler of frozen forest staring at its prey. Feng Wu could feel her skin burning. Her heart thumped at his intimidating gaze, so much so that she thought it was going to jump out of her mouth. Jun Linyuan took a step forward. Feng Wu's stomach lurched. What did Jun Linyuan want? Just then, Feng Sun turned his gaze on Jun Linyuan. "Boss Jun, you're not into her, are you?" Feng Sun stared at Jun Linyuan in disbelief. "I admit that she's pretty, but she's so lifeless and pedantic that there's no soul in her at all." "You like her? Seriously?" Jun Linyuan drew in his breath and cast a stern look at Feng Sun. Feng Sun threw up his hands in defeat. "Fine, if you like that in a woman. Are you calling me blind?" Jun Linyuan almost sounded exasperated. No one ever dared challenge Jun Linyuan's decision, so he seldom spoke more than 4 words at a time. Maybe it was something Feng Sun said, but he actually uttered 5 words this time. Jun Linyuan flipped his sleeves and turned to leave after that. Feng Sun patted his chest. "I thought so. There's no way that Boss Jun would like such a girl. He might as well marry a piece of wood. It gives me the creeps just thinking about it." As he spoke, Feng Sun quickly followed Jun Linyuan out. Xian Yi gave Feng Wu another look, then walked out after the other two. With her hands behind her back, Fairy Muyao walked around Feng Wu in satisfaction and gave her a contemptuous glance. "You're beautiful, but you're an empty shell. Too bad." She left after that, waving at Feng Wu without even looking back. She had crossed Feng Wu's name off her love rival list. Feng Yuan threw a dirty look at Feng Wu, then quickly followed Jun Linyuan out. Chapter 78. Celebrate what? Chapter 78. Celebrate what? Do you see what you've done? You're an embarrassment to our clan. Feng Lu glared at Feng Wu and taunted her. Did you think you could attract the crown prince by dressing up like this and putting on this virtuous girl act? That's just preposterous. After another contemptuous glance, Feng Lu quickly ran out of the courtyard. Seeing that the bunch of people had left as quickly as they had arrived, Feng Wu was exhilarated. She did it. She had successfully fooled them all, which meant that no one had found out who Feng Xiaowu really was, nor did they know that she had taken the juice of that immortal spiritual fruit. This was such great news. Feng Wu made a fist in excitement. Finally, she could start working on that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill. Just when Feng Wu was about to go into the refinery, her beautiful mother grabbed her hand with that pitiful look on her face again. Feng Wu could turn her back on any sort of pleading, but when her mother looked at her in that way, saying no simply wasn't an option. "What's wrong, Mom?" Feng Wu asked in a lower and much softer voice. The beautiful lady rubbed her flat belly and whined. "Hungry." Feng Wu was speechless. So hungry, her mother's eyes sparkled, which made her look even more delicate. Feng Wu could hardly bear to look at her mother's pleading eyes or listen to her imploring. Was the 9 transformation spirit restoration pill important? Very. But compared with her beautiful mother, Feng Wu sighed. That pill could wait, but her mother's empty stomach couldn't. So, Feng Wu looked at her dear mother in resignation. She sometimes even felt that she had switched roles with her mother. Why did it feel like she was the one raising a daughter, not the other way around? Feng Wu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sister, are you cooking for us?" "Really?" Feng Xiaoqi, who had been listening to their conversation, was over the moon. "Sister, it's been a while since you cooked for us." Looking from Feng Xiaoqi to her beautiful mother, both of whom stared at her expectantly, Feng Wu didn't know what to say. "Is my cooking that good?" "Yes." Feng Xiaoqi held up a fist in excitement. "Sister, you have no idea. Your dishes are so delicious that I can practically swallow my tongue along with them." Yes, even her beautiful mother, who usually looked so naive and innocent, looked excited now. Not only did she nod repeatedly, she wouldn't even let go of Feng Wu's hand. Feng Xiaoqi went on singing Feng Wu's praises. "Plus, there's something so therapeutic about your dishes. They're just heartwarming." Yes. Looking at Feng Wu with her doe eyes, the beautiful lady nodded earnestly. Prior to her reincarnation, apart from being a secret agent, Feng Wu had also been a gourmet chef. She had spent 3 years mastering Chinese cuisine, as well as the basic cooking styles of 8 other major countries. Feng Wu said in resignation, "All right, if you really want, I'll cook us something to celebrate." "Celebrate what?" Chapter 79. You don't mean Feng Wu, do you? Chapter 79. You don't mean Feng Wu, do you? Feng Xiaoqi asked curiously. To celebrate her obtaining the juice of the immortal spiritual fruit and the fact that she was going to resume her cultivation soon, of course. However, Feng Wu kept all that to herself, for her little brother here was simply too gullible. While Feng Wu busied herself in the kitchen, Jun Linyuan and the others left the Feng family manor. Although Feng Yuan kept apologizing to them on their way out, Jun Linyuan remained silent, the look on his face indecipherable. On the other hand, everything was written on Feng Sun's face. Scratching his head, he kept mumbling to himself, "I don't get it. How can Feng Wu turn into this girl? How can she be so boring?" Fairy Miao started to look at him. What's so strange about that? What? Fairy Muyao smirked. Young lord, do you realize what kind of life Feng Wu is living now? She's crippled and has been banished to this border town like a useless chess piece. Cultivation is not an option for her anymore, so her best way out is... All eyes were on Fairy Muyao, and everyone frowned a little. Fairy Meow said in satisfaction, her best way out now is to become a virtuous, elegant young lady, marry into a good family, and live out the rest of her not very long life like that. So, it's only natural that she's lost all her vitality and become this dull, pedantic girl. Feng Sun wanted to retort, but all words failed him. He could only stare at Fairy Muyao in a daze. Was that true? She's no longer one of us. She's a commoner, but we, Fairy Muyao gloated, we're cultivators. There's so much ahead of us, and we'll have brilliant futures which Feng Wu can't even imagine. So forget about Feng Wu. She's past history already. Fairy Muyao had removed Feng Wu from her list of rivals, deeming the latter unworthy. Feng Sun rubbed his head. Somehow he felt something was off. They were standing in the middle of a street. A pair of teenage girls walked past them. They were talking as they walked. Sister Lin Ling, did you really give the wontons to Miss Wu? Did she accept them? That's great. Lin Ling arched an eyebrow and grinned. Of course. Miss Wu is so sincere, kind, lively, passionate. All the good words in this world together won't be enough to describe how great she is. Your family received the secret wonton recipe from Miss Wu, didn't you? Lin Ling was very candid and replied happily. That's right. Miss Wu took pity on our poverty back then, so she taught us how to make wontons so that we could make a living. She practically gave us a new leash on life. For that, I'll do anything for her. Miss Wu is so wonderful. But I heard that someone's arrived from the Imperial capital, the eldest son and the sixth daughter of the Feng clan. Both are very hostile toward Miss Wu, and they just look so evil. Lin Ling and her friend chatted on. Feng Sun and the others were shocked. Miss Wu? Guests from the Imperial capital? The eldest son and the sixth daughter. Wait. Feng Wu stopped Lin Ling, who was still talking to her friend. By Miss Wu, you don't mean Feng Wu, do you? Chapter 80, Miss Feng Wu is awesome. Chapter 80, Miss Feng Wu is awesome. Feng Sun's eyes widened, and he took Lin Ling by the arm. Startled, Lin Ling stared at Feng Sun. And you are? This was such a nice-looking teenager. His lips were pink, his teeth were so shiny, and he looked so refreshing. Lin Ling had never met such a handsome young man before, and she was a little dazed. As smart as Feng Sun was, he realized that he wouldn't get his answer in the normal way. So he smirked and asked, You didn't mean Feng Wu, right? That useless fifth daughter of the Feng family? Lin Ling's face darkened at those words. Enraged, she threw off Feng Sun's hand and glared at him. What was that supposed to mean? Who did you call useless? Miss Wu is awesome. She's everything but useless. Lin Ling's friend was called Song Yusin, who was also a fan of Feng Wu. Right now, the gentle girl was also glowering at Feng Sun. Feng Sun was at a loss. He was the young lord of Northern Feng Mansion and someone sought after by so many young women in the Imperial capital. Why was he getting attacked all of a sudden? Feng Sun snapped, What? Did I say something wrong? Feng Wu is wasted, isn't she? Plus, she's so dull and lifeless and boring. Hey, Lin Ling was genuinely pissed. Resting her hands on her waist, she scowled at Feng Sun. What's wrong with you? You look all decent and fancy, but you're so rude. What did Miss Wu ever do to you to deserve such awful words? Feng Sun gestured at himself. I said awful words about her. Yes, you. What did you say just then? Miss Wu is dull, lifeless, boring? That's just a load of bullshit. Miss Wu is lively and cheerful and passionate. She's nothing like what you say. Lin Ling was never shy with her words, and she retorted angrily. To Lin Ling, Feng Wu was not only her family savior, but also her most sacred and admired idol as well. She couldn't stand any comments against Feng Wu, even the slightest one. That's right. Song Yusin, who was a little younger than Lin Ling, rested her hands on her waist as well, and chimed in. Like any other normal teenage boy, Feng Sun couldn't stand Lin Ling's sharp criticism. He smirked. Feng Wu isn't dull? Heh, I've seen it myself. There's first-hand information. The girl barely left her bedchamber now and obeyed every single rule written in the Book of Discipline. She might as well be living in a wooden box. Lin Ling smirked back at him. Sister Feng Wu is bright, warm, and ready to help anyone. That's first-hand information, too. That's right. Song Yusin confirmed loudly. Feng Sun snickered. Common girls, like you can see her with your own eyes? You gotta be kidding me. It wasn't that Feng Sun looked down on them, but to him, Feng Wu was living such a confined life that he couldn't imagine her walking around on the streets. Lin Ling chuckled, then threw a contemptuous look at Feng Sun. What a waste of that pretty face of yours. I never thought you could be so condescending. I know, we commoners are too unworthy of young masters like you. But Sister Feng Wu isn't like you. Chapter 81. Who's speaking ill of our Miss Wu? Chapter 81. Who's speaking ill of our Miss Wu? With a wave of her hand, Lin Ling called out to the entire neighborhood. Annie Wang, Grandma Zhang, Uncle Zhao, come here. These people are saying bad things about Miss Wu. What? Everyone running their small businesses along the street exploded at Lin Ling's words. Annie Wang charged at them with a spatula in her hand. Who was it? Who said bad things about Miss Wu? Holding a kitchen knife, Grandma Zhang tottered toward them. Who are these people? What did they say about Miss Wu? Uncle Zhao, Auntie Zhou, Grandpa Zhang. Everyone who had been busy with their own chores ran to Lin Ling's side with various tools as weapons. They then surrounded Feng Sun. Feng Sun had been standing with Jun Linyuan and the others, but was separated from them by the crowd. Circling Feng Sun, everyone brandished their weapons and yelled at him angrily. Who are you to say such things about Miss Wu? How dare you insult Miss Wu? I see you've got some balls. Feng Sun was dumbfounded. What the heck? Had these people lost their minds? Oh, let go of me. Stop tearing my clothes. Feng Sun was pulled this way and that by what felt like 100 pairs of hands, and he thought that his robe was going to be ripped off. Miss Wu is a great young lady. She saved my boy's life. My family would have been ruined if it wasn't for her. No one can say anything bad about Miss Wu when I'm around. Uncle Zhao glared at Feng Sun. Feng Sun was speechless. Exactly. I'd be long dead if it wasn't for Miss Wu. She's my savior. How dare you say she doesn't go anywhere apart from her bedchamber? What kind of person are you? Feng Sun was still speechless. Miss Wu went to help a patient in the next town just the other day. How can you say such things about such a kind person? Do you even have a heart at all? What an ugly personality you have under that pretty face. Feng Sun kept his silence. Seeing Feng Sun stumble back in bewilderment as the folks jabbed their fingers in his chest, Fairy Muyao patted her chest, feeling very lucky. It was a good thing she hadn't stepped out just then, or she would be the one getting attacked now. With his hands behind his back, Jun Linyuan watched what was happening, lost in his thoughts. However, he seemed to look past the crowd, his gaze fixed somewhere in the distance. Who was it? Who said unpleasant things about Miss Wu? Just then, an elderly couple hobbled toward them, one holding a rolling pin and the other a cleaver. Despite their old age, they moved rather fast. The looks on their faces were very eager. Grandpa, Grandma, Lin Ling rushed to their sides, steadying them. Xiaoling, who's saying bad things about Miss Wu? Tell me quickly. I'm going to kick their asses. Holding a cleaver, Grandpa Lin was panting from all the running, his voice filled with righteous indignation. Next to him, Grandma Lin was also furious. She had always been a mild old lady and had never lost her temper like this. Grabbing Lin Ling's hand, she said loudly, Xiaoling, how can people nowadays be so ungrateful? Throwing mud at Miss Wu after all those things she has done for us. Now, tell me who the bad man is. Feng Sun was speechless. He hadn't expected things to turn out this way from a single sarcastic comment. Chapter 82, Almost in Tears. Chapter 82, Almost in Tears. Feng Sun turned his pitiful, pleading eyes on Jun Linyuan. However, Jun Linyuan looked the other way with his hands behind his back, as if he was savoring some view in the distance. Feng Sun was almost in tears. Everyone had decided not to get involved, and pretended that he was a total stranger. When he finally broke free from the sea of people, his clothes were all crumpled beyond repair. "You people are unbelievable." Feng Sun condemned his teammates. "Blame your own big mouth," Fairy Muyao shrugged. "Aren't you against Feng Wu yourself? How could you not take my side?" Feng Sun asked indignantly. Fairy Muyao shrugged. "A wise woman submits to fate, okay? Who knows what got into these commoners? They just stuck up for Feng Wu like crazy people. One wrong word and they think you're offending her. That's just insane." Feng Sun was so frustrated by how jubilant Fairy Muyao looked. He waved his hand in exasperation. "No, I won't put up with it." Xian Yi's taut face lit up, and he blurted out, "Exactly what do we know about Feng Wu?" That was like a clap of thunder in everyone's ears. What was Feng Wu really like? Was she dull and joyless? Or was she enthusiastic, kind, and helpful as the folks claimed? Xian Yi went on, "If it were only one or two people, we could question their credibility, but we're looking at a whole street of people here. Are we going to call all of them liars?" Fairy Muyao took a step forward, trying to say something, but was at a loss over what to say. Xian Yi was right. Just look at all those commoners with their knives and rolling pins. They had to be telling the truth. If that's the case, Feng Wu played us. Feng Sun was so angry that his face turned livid. "Come, let's go back to the Feng family manor and take her by surprise. I'd like to see the real Feng Wu." Feng Sun stormed off. The others turned to look at Jun Linyuan. After all, he was the one who called the shots, not Feng Sun. That brooding look had been on Jun Linyuan's face this entire time. However, he gave a little nod at that moment and turned to walk back toward the Feng family manor. Xian Yi was most intrigued. He never expected someone like Boss Jun to play along with Feng Sun's childish behavior. That was so strange. Back at the Feng family manor, Feng Wu gambled around the courtyard as soon as Jun Linyuan and the others left. To make up for her unfortunate encounters in Frozen Forest and to celebrate her obtaining the immortal spiritual fruit, Feng Wu prepared a feast for her beautiful mother and Feng Xiaoqi, cooking everything herself. One only had the best things to say about Feng Wu's cooking. She was a master in that area. In less than an hour, 10 dishes were laid out on the table. Today, Feng Wu opted for peppery, spicy, and appetizing Sichuan-style cuisine. Kung Pao prawns, sliced elk meat in hot chili oil, stir-fried vermicelli with spicy minced pork fillet with sweet and sour sauce, seared green chili peppers, braised radish and cured meat, steamed beef in rice flour. She made 9 scrumptious dishes and paired them with slow-cooked ham with rice. Once the dishes were set out, the table looked so brightly lit in different shades of red that it was almost dazzling. However, her mother's and Feng Xiaoqi's eyes lit up. It was hard to imagine that someone with such fine taste like the beautiful lady was in fact a fan of hot, spicy, and savory food like this. How amazing! Just when they were about to dig into the feast. Chapter 83, Feng Wu's Denial. Chapter 83, Feng Wu's Denial. Suddenly, a burst of rapid footsteps came from outside. Seeing the bunch of people charge in, Feng Yiran was dumbfounded. He had been upset about Jun Linyuan's departure and was angry at Feng Wu for ruining this rare opportunity of playing up to the crown prince. Feng Yiran and Feng Lu had been about to get even with Feng Wu when the crown prince returned with the others. That was such a pleasant surprise for Feng Yiran, but before he could say anything, Feng Sun rushed into the house without stopping for a second. Jun Linyuan and Xian Yi also headed directly for the middle court without giving the brother and sister another glance. Feng Yiran and Feng Lu exchanged baffled looks. What was going on? Had Feng Wu pissed off young Lord Feng after offending Jun Linyuan. Feng Lu was as worried as she was infuriated. Clenching her fist, she said, "That Feng Wu is such a troublemaker." Feng Yiran didn't make any comments, but was thinking the same thing. There was no time to complain, though. The two of them had no choice but to run after the team in a hurry. Hence, just when the family of three was ready to start their feast, they heard quick footsteps, and with a loud bang, the door to their courtyard was kicked open. Frightened, the beautiful lady and Feng Xiaoqi almost jumped to their feet. Feng Wu ran to her mother's and brother's sides as they blanched from the fright, and she shielded them behind her. Narrowing her eyes, she stared sharply in the direction of the noise. As a result, Feng Sun looked right into Feng Wu's eyes as soon as he stepped in. His heart skipped a beat for a second. Those eyes were so familiar. He must have seen them somewhere before. Feng Sun searched his memories, but the idea faded as quickly as it had struck him. He couldn't recall where he had seen them, however hard he tried. Feng Wu stared at the teenagers in astonishment. "Shit, they came back. What the heck?" Seeing Feng Sun's shocked face, Feng Wu knew that things were turning south for her. Because she had been cooking, she had long changed out of that grand outfit and was now wearing a plain dress. That exquisite phoenix hairpin was also gone, together with a full face of makeup. Barefaced, Feng Wu looked as natural as a spring breeze. She didn't look any less beautiful, and if anything, it only gave her a down-to-earth vibe that made her more attractive. Feng Sun pointed at Feng Wu. "You, look at those sharp eyes and her rolled-up sleeves. Where was that dull beauty a moment ago? Where was she?" Feng Wu hadn't changed a bit after 5 years. "Feng Wu, you tricked us." Feng Sun went up to Feng Wu and glared at her in an aggressive manner. His face was livid and his eyes spat fire, for he felt like he had been played for a fool. "Huh?" Feng Wu put on an innocent face. "What trick?" Feng Sun smirked. "Stop pretending already. Are you telling me that you weren't acting just then?" Feng Wu asked innocently. "What makes you say that? You can't fool me now. Weren't you pretending to be his dull beauty? Do that again, I dare you." Feng Sun was fuming. God knew how disappointed he had been when he saw that lifeless, pedantic Feng Wu. Feng Wu, on the other hand, was never going to admit her guilt. Chapter 84. You like Boss June? Just admit it. Chapter 84. You like Boss June? Just admit it. She stood her ground. "I was pretending because I dressed up? That's such an ungracious accusation." Feng Sun smirked. "Ungracious? I'm speechless. I can't believe that you can say such things. Feng Wu, you really are a piece of work." As she played the fool to pull Feng Sun this way and that, Feng Wu racked her brain for a way out. She never expected these people to return. Feng Xiaoqi stared eagerly at all the dishes on the table as he rubbed his empty stomach. He felt like crying. All that food was within his reach, but he wasn't allowed to eat. That had to be the greatest torture of all. Hence, in order to get on with his meal ASAP, Feng Xiaoqi said, "You people were the reason my sister dressed up in the first place." All eyes were on this pretty teenager at those words. Feng Xiaoqi went on, "It's the truth. You're all the Crown Prince's people, and His Royal Highness is here himself. Wasn't dressing up what my sister was supposed to do? Would any girl react any differently?" That successfully shut Feng Sun up. He wanted to retort, but all words failed him. The beautiful lady was going to confess that it was her idea to get Feng Wu polished up, but seeing how angry Feng Sun was, she pursed her lips and kept her silence, deeming it not a big deal after all. However, Feng Wu found it a very big deal, because the look Feng Sun was giving her was so strange. And there was Jun Linyuan. The guy wasn't like his usual self at all. For what she could remember, Jun Linyuan had never liked to be mentioned in connection to any girl. However, his intense gaze had been on Feng Wu the whole time, ever since he stepped into the courtyard, which made Feng Wu's heart race, as she felt all twitchy. "Feng Wu, you're not in love with His Royal Highness, are you?" Fairy Miao, who had remained quiet, spoke all of a sudden. Those words struck everyone else like a thunderbolt. Whoosh! All eyes turned to Feng Wu instantly. Even Jun Linyuan was staring at Feng Wu now. Shocked by that question, Feng Wu took a step back and waved her hands. What? Of course not. I was just being polite. That was all. More excuses. Feng Sun snickered. You like Boss Jun, and that was why you dressed up like that and pretended to be all gentle and virtuous. You thought you could attract Boss Jun that way, didn't you? Feng Wu could feel Jun Linyuan's gaze bore into her skin, and her cheeks burned. His gaze was sharper than a needle and hotter than fire. Feng Wu felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. Jun Linyuan was pissed. The guy hated it when girls showed affection. He wouldn't hesitate to take lives when he was really angry. At the thought of that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill, which she hadn't had a chance to refine, and her weepy mother and naive brother, Feng Wu waved her hands right away. No, you're mistaken. There's no way I'm in love with him. You've got to be kidding me. The harder you try, the more you're exposed. Now that Feng Wu was exasperated, Feng Sun calmed down. With his hands behind his back, he casually said, Your explanation shows how much you want to cover it up, which means you're telling lies. Feng Wu, you're actually a pretty good storyteller. Chapter 85, no. Chapter 85, no. Feng Wu said, I mean it. However, Feng Sun cut her off before she could go on. I know you like Boss Jun and dressed up to please him, but Feng Sun stared at Feng Wu, the look in his eyes a mix of resignation and contempt. Fine, you had to dress up somehow, but put your heart into it, will you? Boss Jun hates a dull beauty more than anything else. Feng Wu wanted to cry that she knew that perfectly well, which was why she had acted that way. However, she couldn't tell them that, especially when Jun Linyuan was around. Feng Wu kept her silence in conflicted resignation. Seeing that the conversation was never-ending, the beautiful lady didn't like it. She tugged at Feng Wu's sleeve when no one was looking. Feng Wu took the hint right away. Her mother wanted to eat. However, she wasn't the one calling the shots here, and there was nothing she could do about it. I'm hungry. Seeing that Feng Wu wasn't responding to her request, the beautiful lady bit her pink lip and spoke in a tiny voice, sounding rather aggrieved. With their sharp ears, Feng Sun and the rest all heard her clearly, despite that tiny voice. Hence, everyone shifted their gazes to the beautiful lady, then to the dining table in unison. The spicy, pungent aroma of the dishes filled the room and smelled most appetizing. However, Feng Sun looked at the beautiful lady and the strongly flavored dishes in turn and was bewildered. The lady's lovely face simply didn't go with dishes like these. The beautiful lady poked Feng Wu's side, then poked again. Since Feng Wu didn't respond, the lady had no choice but to step out and scan the team with her limpid, alluring eyes. She asked out of the blue, "Do you want to eat?" Before Feng Sun could reply, Fairy Muyao snorted. "You call that food? Did you just invite us to eat that?" "Young Master Feng, that's just an insult to the Crown Prince." Feng Yiran's stomach lurched. He cast a stern look at the lady, warning her. The beautiful lady couldn't care less what Feng Yiran thought. She was elated to see that Fairy Muyao wasn't interested in the dishes at all. Feng Wu couldn't bring herself to see her dear mother starve, and decided to leave Feng Sun and the others be. Drawing out a chair, she helped her mother sit down. Feng Xiaoqi's eyes lit up. He moved as nimbly as a spirit monkey and was by his mother's side the next second. He then pulled out a chair and sat down himself. Feng Sun was speechless. Feng Yiran didn't know what to say. Seeing the baffled looks on their faces, Feng Wu reluctantly asked out of politeness, "It's just a home-cooked meal. You guys interested? Please just leave." Feng Wu knew perfectly well the kind of delicacies these young lords were used to, and she was sure that spicy food covered by chili oil like this would never suit their taste buds, especially Jun Linyuan. The guy would definitely be the first to leave. As expected, Jun Linyuan frowned and didn't disguise the contemptuous look on his impeccable face. Greasy, spicy coarse tea, plain rice, primitive and crude. Fairy Muyao's eyes lit up in jubilation. She knew it. Chapter 86. It's not tasty at all. Chapter 86. It's not tasty at all. Fairy Meow kept her intense gaze on Jun Lin Yuan. She knew it. He was the crown prince, for Christ's sake. Growing up in the royal palace, he must have tasted all kinds of delicacies. His taste had to be impeccable. The last thing he would do was try such coarse, greasy food. That was the most preposterous idea. Fairy Meow had been on the alert when she saw the real, lively Feng Wu, but seeing all the terrible gaffes Feng Wu was making. Fairy Meow shook her head inwardly. Feng Wu was never going to be her match. However, Feng Sun watched as Feng Wu expertly took care of her beautiful mother and even put a pretty apron on the ladder. Somehow he was intrigued. When he saw the speed at which the beautiful lady and the goofy younger brother ate, Feng Sun was astonished. Both ate very fast, but with different styles. Feng Xiaoqi cared for nothing but stuffing the food into his mouth. His eyes sparkled as he wolfed down everything. Feng Wu's beautiful mother, on the other hand, took a different approach. She held her chopsticks elegantly. She chewed elegantly, and she even spat out bones so elegantly. But how did she manage to fill her plate with bones and prawn heads in less than a minute? Was it that good? Feng Sun was so curious. He turned to Jun Lin Yuan immediately and said, "Boss Jun, you guys can go ahead if you want to. I'm going to stay. We've been walking all the way since Frozen Forest, and I'm starving." Jun Lin Yuan was speechless. Feng Sun didn't see Jun Lin Yuan's face, which had turned a shade darker. Instead, he ran happily to Feng Wu, stretched out his arms, and looked down at her. Seeing the confused look on Feng Wu's face, Feng Sun prompted her, "Put an apron on for me." Feng Wu clenched her fists where no one could see them. However, she had made the offer herself, and turning him down now would be too obvious. Hence, Feng Wu had no choice but to force herself to smile at Feng Sun, then help him with the apron. Teehee. Feng Sun sat down cheerfully, picked up a kung pao prawn with his chopsticks, and stuffed it into his mouth. He didn't actually have very high hopes for the food and had only decided to stay out of curiosity. However, as soon as he bit into that prawn, Feng Sun's bright eyes lit up as if a switch had been turned on. "Holy crap!" Feng Sun cried out in surprise, and that was the only sound he made. He immediately picked up a second bright red prawn, so fast that one couldn't follow the movement of his hand. The beautiful lady and Feng Xiaoqi were on the alert against this competent rival. Glaring at the newcomer, they picked up their speed as well. Xian Yi was frowning and thinking about stopping Feng Sun from eating such unhealthy-looking food. But when he saw the way Feng Sun was shoving food down his throat, Xian Yi hesitated before asking, "How is it?" They seemed to be enjoying their food so much that Xian Yi, who was already hungry, felt his mouth water. "It's not good at all." Feng Sun's chopsticks moved quickly around the table, filling his mouth with food. His eyes were on the dishes the whole time, and he didn't even look at Xian Yi. Chapter 87. Do you want to join us, Your Royal Highness? Chapter 87. Do you want to join us, Your Royal Highness? Xian Yi looked up at the sky, utterly speechless. "Not good at all. Try saying that again when you can tear your eyes away from the table and without any food in your mouth. More importantly, Feng the Third, you would have already tricked me into eating if it didn't taste good." Xian Yi might be stiff and joyless, but he was still just a teenager. Intrigued by Feng Sun's reaction, and after recalling that he hadn't actually said anything bad about Feng Wu so far, Xian Yi went up to Feng Wu matter-of-factly and took an apron from her. Feng Wu was speechless. Xian Yi sat down next to Feng Sun without giving Feng Wu another look. Picking up a pair of chopsticks, he took a piece of elk meat from a dish filled with chili oil and put it in his mouth. Xian Yi went stiff instantly. So spicy, so hot. Sweat covered his forehead immediately. His eyes watered and he felt like he was breathing fire through his nostrils. Feng Sun had tricked him. That was Xian Yi's first reaction. He wanted to toss the chopsticks away and leave the table right away, but after the initial sting, A sensation he had never experienced before kept him in his seat. That was so weird. He was already in tears from the spicy dish, but he simply couldn't bring himself to ditch his chopsticks. What was going on? He decided to look into it. He picked up a second piece, then a third, a fourth. Before he knew it, he was picking up food faster and faster. In the end, he was racing with Feng Sun. Fairy Muyao's mouth fell open. This had to be an illusion. Seeing that Jun Linyuan was standing there with a frown, Feng Sun said, "Boss Jun, if you don't like this place, feel free to leave. I promise we'll catch up with you as soon as we're done here." Jun Linyuan's face was as dark as a thunderstorm now. Dark clouds seemed to have gathered over his head, and he gave off a chilly air, to the point that the temperature in the room seemed to drop. Feng Wu looked at Feng Sun and Jun Linyuan, then asked out of politeness, "Well, would you like to join us, your Royal Highness?" Mouth filled with food, Feng Sun mumbled as he picked up another piece of meat. "Stop it, little Feng Wu. You know nothing about Boss Jun. Xianyi and I are about the only people here that can stand your coarse food. Offering it to Boss Jun, it'd be like defiling him." Jun Linyuan was speechless. One didn't think his face could get any darker, but apparently it could. It was practically inky black. Feng Wu said, "I see." Feng Yiran threw a dirty look at Feng Wu. "What's all this crap you've cooked? Offering them to the Crown Prince? You must have lost your mind." After that, Feng Yiran bowed at Jun Linyuan and said obsequiously, "Your Royal Highness, we do have some decent cooks here in the manor. Let me show you the main hall where you can." Just when everyone thought that Jun Linyuan was going to leave, he pushed Feng Yiran aside, sat down at the dining table, and went on sulking. Feng Wu rubbed her nose. Why did she have the feeling that the Crown Prince was throwing a silent tantrum here, which reminded her a lot of Feng Xiaoqi in a fit of pique? No, it couldn't be. This was Jun Linyuan, a superior cultivator who could reshape the world with his rage. A person like that throwing a tantrum? She had to be imagining it. Feng Sun was surprised to see Jun Linyuan sit down as well, but he reacted soon enough and said to Jun Linyuan with a smile, "Here, this braised radish with cured meat is quite mild and will suit your taste." However, Feng Wu saw that. Chapter 88. Women with Two Faces Are the Worst. Chapter 88. Women with Two Faces Are the Worst. Just then, Jun Linyuan rose to his feet, then walked directly toward Feng Wu. Tall and handsome, he cut an intimidating figure when he stood there and looked down at Feng Wu. They were so close that it made Feng Wu jittery. What did Jun Linyuan want? Those that were gobbling down their food now all turned toward them in unison and stared blankly at Jun Linyuan. What was he going to do to Feng Wu? However, the next second, Jun Linyuan stretched out his arms as he kept his gloomy eyes on Feng Wu, the look in them brooding and indecipherable. Feng Wu took a step back involuntarily. "What do you want?" Jun Linyuan stared at Feng Wu, his voice cold and haughty. "That." Feng Wu looked at the apron in her hand. They were handmade by her mother, but Feng Wu had designed them herself. On the scarlet-red apron was a chubby duckling, which was fluffy and adorable, and quite befitting of her beautiful mother and naive brother. Feng Sun could still pull it off, but Jun Linyuan. Feng Wu looked up at Jun Linyuan's aloof, handsome face, then back at the cute apron in her hand. Jun Linyuan wanted to wear that. What was he thinking? She could see the obvious contempt in Jun Linyuan's eyes when he looked at the apron, but he just kept staring at Feng Wu. "Fine, you asked for it. Don't blame me later." After the disclaimer, Feng Wu handed Jun Linyuan a red apron. However, Jun Linyuan didn't take it. In that same cold, arrogant voice, he gave her the order. "Put it on for me." Feng Wu gritted her teeth inwardly. Did he have no hands left, or what? He couldn't just put it on himself? But Feng Wu was only bold enough to make that complaint in her head. Her biggest wish at the moment was to feed these people and get them to leave ASAP. The further away they went, the more at ease she would feel when she worked in her refinery. Hence, Feng Wu yielded right away, despite the sarcasm in her head. She forced a smile and said, Of course, your Royal Highness. Standing there ramrod straight, Jun Linyuan was 20 centimeters taller than Feng Wu. She had to stand on her toes to put the neck of the apron over Jun Linyuan's head. In order to save time, Feng Wu wrapped her arms around Jun Linyuan's waist to tie the apron behind his back. Jun Linyuan looked down and saw her head bumping against his chest, which reminded him of a little deer. He found it rather adorable and even had an impulse to poke her crown. Feng Sun was watching their interactions closely. From his angle, Feng Wu was throwing herself into Feng Sun's arms. Hence, he smacked his lips and said, "Little Feng Wu, stop denying that you like Boss Jun. Would you do that if you didn't like him? TCH, women with two faces are the worst." Feng Wu was speechless. Glaring at Feng Sun, she almost charged at him. What did she do to deserve such a remark? At that thought, Feng Wu rolled her eyes at Feng Sun. "I'm tying his apron. Didn't your apron need tying as well?" Feng Sun said indignantly, "But you ran around me when you did mine just then and finished it in a second. Look at you now." Chapter 89, A Spark. Chapter 89, A Spark. Feng Sun was the worst. Now that he had pointed that out, everyone in the courtyard began to give her weird looks. Embarrassed, Feng Wu let go of Jun Linyuan and stumbled back. However, there was a chair right behind her, and she knocked into its leg with a crack. The sharp pain brought tears to her eyes, but that wasn't even the worst part, for after the impact, she pitched forward involuntarily. Thump! Her head bumped into Jun Linyuan's chest with a thump. To the others, she was, "Wow, little Feng Wu, you're so throwing yourself at Boss Jun. What a two-faced woman." Feng Sun commented casually as he stuffed more meat into his mouth. Feng Wu went scarlet with vexation. She steadied herself, holding on to Jun Linyuan's well-toned waist, then took a quick step back. Jun Linyuan looked down at Feng Wu, his eyes so bright that they reminded her of twinkling stars. Feng Wu's eyes met Jun Linyuan's, and there were sparks in the air. Both turned the other way despite themselves. It felt rather awkward all of a sudden. Ahem! Jun Linyuan coughed into his right hand, then went back to his seat. Cheeks puffed out from all the food in his mouth. Feng Sun watched as Jun Linyuan came back to the table. He then grumbled, "Boss Jun, she hugged you, and you're just going to let it go." Feng Wu smacked her forehead and yelled at Feng Sun. "It was really an accident." Feng Sun blinked at Feng Wu. "Accident? Heh, you sure do have a lot of accidents. I wonder." Feng Wu didn't say another word, but went to move the dishes away from Feng Sun. "I see you enjoy talking so much. Why bother eating?" That vexed Feng Sun immediately. Protecting his plate with both hands, he cried out, "Don't. Please don't. All right, it was all just an accident. You didn't throw yourself at Boss Jun, and you didn't create those accidents. You don't like Boss Jun." Satisfied, Feng Wu was speechless. Somehow, what Feng Sun said only made it worse. It was completely an accident. Oomph. Fairy Meow found these gluttons incorrigible. "Grow a spine, Feng Sun. You're the young lord of Northern Feng Mansion. Aren't you supposed to have tried all the delicacies there are to try? How can you lose yourself over some crap soaked in chili oil?" Even Jun Linyuan was eating now. Hadn't he called the food unhealthy a moment ago? Feng Yuan kept his gaze on Jun Linyuan, who took a bite of some red meat, frowned, then picked up another piece. Feng Yuan then knew that Jun Linyuan wasn't going to leave anytime soon. Hence, Feng Yuan announced, "Now, I see that we're all hungry. Let's eat first, and we can talk later." He then took the initiative to sit right next to Jun Linyuan. Feng Yuan was ecstatic. Sitting this close to the crown prince was a 1 in a million chance for him. People were the most relaxed over a meal, and this was the best chance for him to get to know the crown prince better. Feng Yuan was determined to make good use of this opportunity. However, when he invited Feng Lu and Fairy Meow to sit down, Chapter 90, No, Over My Dead Body. Chapter 90, No, Over My Dead Body. Everyone that was already eating frowned at those words, and they sped up. Even Jun Linyuan frowned a little. Feng Sun, Xian Yi, Feng Xiaoqi, the beautiful lady. Everyone was attacking the dishes as fast as they could. Especially the beautiful lady. Feng Wu had poured her 2 cups of water and changed her plate 3 times. However, her belly was as flat as ever, which made one wonder where all that food went. Feng Yiran watched Jun Linyuan closely. He would pick every dish Jun Linyuan chose and copy Jun Linyuan's speed as well. Feng Yiran thought that by copying everything the Crown Prince did, with time, the latter would definitely see his loyalty. However, the frown on Jun Linyuan's face grew darker and he was obviously irritated. After Jun Linyuan took a piece of steamed beef in rice flour, there was only 1 piece left on the plate. Jun Linyuan chewed a little faster, for he was planning to. However, as soon as he took that piece, Feng Yiran followed suit and took the last one. Jun Linyuan's face darkened right away. Feng Yiran didn't realize at all what he had done. Putting the beef in his mouth, he praised, "This beef is really good. It's rich with flavor, which lingers in your mouth. It's not like anything I've tried before." Feng Yiran narrowed his eyes as he savored the taste. Jun Linyuan moved his brooding gaze away from the half-piece of beef in Feng Yiran's bowl to the pork fillet with sweet and sour sauce a little distance away. Fairy Muyao and Feng Lu exchanged looks and both smirked. Fairy Muyao raised her chin proudly. "I can't believe you're even able to put such coarse food in your mouths. You guys are not picky at all, but I am." Feng Yiran said to Fairy Muyao, "My dear lady, these dishes may look unseemly, but there's really something special about them. Please try some." Saying that, Feng Yiran put a piece of that pork fillet on Fairy Muyao's plate. There were only 2 pieces left to begin with, and one had gone to Fairy Muyao now. In order to show his love for his sister, Feng Yiran gave that last piece to Feng Lu and said cheerfully, "Dear sister, do try it. It's sweet and sour and rather palatable." Feng Yiran was so devoted to demonstrating to Jun Linyuan what a caring brother he was that he completely missed Jun Linyuan's move. The Crown Prince's chopsticks were halfway to the pork fillet. Jun Linyuan's face was so dark that one could practically extract ink from it. It just so happened that, with Jun Linyuan around, Fairy Muyao was never going to eat something she deemed greasy and thick. Plus, she was afraid that the brown sauce would stick to her lips and teeth. Hence, she said in disdain, "I'm never going to eat it. Brother Feng, please don't force me." Feng Lu thought exactly the same way as Fairy Muyao. Hence, she put down her chopsticks and shook her head. "No, over my dead body." Chapter 91. Good job, young man. Chapter 91. Good job, young man. Feng Yiran was so disappointed in his sister. Had it not been for all these people here, he would have given Feng Lu a lecture, jabbing his finger in her forehead. How could she not see that this was a rare opportunity to impress the Crown Prince? She was so stupid. Jun Linyuan glanced at Fairy Muyao's plate, which Fairy Muyao didn't notice. But when Jun Linyuan's glance flickered round to Feng Lu's heart raced, and her cheeks flushed. Involuntarily, she played with a lock of loose hair and was too shy to look up. Feng Sun and the others devoured everything like wolves, and the 9 dishes were simply not enough. Soon, all that was left was the chili oil on the plates. "Are you really not going to eat that?" Feng Sun stared at Fairy Muyao's plate. Fairy Muyao had barely shaken her head when, with a whoosh, the pork fillet was in Feng Sun's mouth. "And you don't want it either?" Feng Sun asked Feng Lu. Feng Lu didn't know what to say. It was just a piece of meat. Why was young Lord Feng so? He was the young lord of a noble family and a prominent figure in the Imperial capital. Why was he behaving like this? Yes or no? Feng Sun asked impatiently. Feng Lu finally came back to herself and shook her head right away. No. However, no sooner had she said that word when Xian Yi's chopsticks arrived, taking that piece of pork fillet. "Xian Yi, Feng Sun wanted to punch the guy in the face. Xian shrugged and slowly chewed on the meat, further irritating Feng Sun. Fairy Muyao couldn't take it anymore. It was just a piece of meat, and this was just another meal. Why are you people like this? You won't understand. Feng Sun rolled his eyes at her impatiently. Fairy Muyao, indeed, didn't understand. Why did you get the feeling that Feng Sun despised her? Seeing the satiated faces around the table, Feng Wu prompted them in her head. You're all fed now, so get moving. Don't just sit here. She still had her immortal spiritual fruit to work on. Feng Sun noticed Feng Wu's gaze and snapped. What are you looking at? Preoccupied with her immortal spiritual fruit juice, Feng Wu replied without thinking. I'm waiting for you people to leave. Feng Wu shocked herself as soon as she said that. Gosh, what had she said? How could she have spoken her mind? Shit, she was practically shooing them away. Would Jun Linyuan kill her for saying that? As expected, Feng Sun was taken by surprise, and so was everyone else. Feng Wu was a loss for words. What should she do now? What would she do to make up for it? She was still a useless girl. She couldn't afford to offend these young lords yet. However, to Feng Wu's surprise, Feng Sun nodded and smiled in a suggestive manner. TSK. Little Feng Wu, you two-faced woman. Finally, some truth from you. Feng Wu was dumbfounded. What did I say? If you don't want Boss Jun to leave, just say so. We won't understand if you say it so indirectly. Feng Sun's smile was full of innuendo, and he was ready for some major gossip. Chapter 92, The Mayor. Chapter 92, The Mayor. Feng Wu was crying no in her head and secretly begging them to leave. She really needed to start on that 9 transformation spirit restoration pill now. Hence, the look on her face was rather conflicted. Feng Sun took it as evidence that he had seen through Feng Wu, and he gloated. I was right. You do have a crush on our boss, Jun. You dishonest woman. Try to cover that up now. Feng Wu took a deep breath, clenched her fists, and tried her best to restrain herself. Wiping his mouth clean, Feng Sun rose to his feet, went up to Feng Wu, and patted her on the shoulder. Gosh, why are you so shy about it? Girls have crushes on Boss Jun all the time. You'd be an oddball if you didn't. Moreover, you two are young. Ahem. Jun Linyuan raised a fist to his mouth and cleared his throat. Feng Sun took the hint right away. He turned and darted a glance at Jun Linyuan. Very clever, Boss Jun. By not telling Feng Wu about the engagement, he had the option to marry her, but could still sign the annulment papers if he decided not to. He had the upper hand. It was brilliant. Feng Wu had no choice but to plead with Feng Sun. So, where are you guys leaving? Feng Sun glanced at the empty plates and realized that if they left now, he might never have another chance to have something this delicious again. No, he wouldn't have it. He had to think of an excuse to stay. Darting a contemptuous glance at Feng Wu, Feng Sun said, Since you're begging for us to stay, we'll... Just then, footsteps came from outside. The old steward of the Feng clan arrived. After looking at Feng Wu and Feng Yiran in turn, he went up to Feng Wu in the end and whispered something in her ear. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Feng Xiaoqi cried out and jumped to his feet. What? The mayor's here. He's not making trouble for us again, is he? Feng Sun frowned. Isn't Bai Yunfei the mayor of Northern Border City? Isn't old Bai a good-tempered chap? Why would he make things difficult for you? Feng Xiaoqi rolled his eyes. Of course he's nice to you. You're a young lord. To us, he's anything but nice. He's been trying to marry my sister to that retarded son of his. Xiaoqi, Feng Wu chided. What? That displeased Feng Sun right away. Who would cook for him if little Feng Wu here was married off to some guy? Would he have to come all the way to the mayor's manor if he wanted to enjoy Feng Wu's cooking? That would be bestowing too big a favor on Bai Yunfei. Feng Wu sighed inwardly. She had thought that she could happily move on to her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill after the meal, but things just kept coming up and she couldn't do anything to stop them. Had she known that things would turn out this way, Feng Wu would never have cooked in the first place. Feng Wu waved at the steward. Let the mayor know that we're entertaining some respected guests here, and this isn't a good time for him to visit. Tell him to go back." Feng Yiran frowned and cut her off. "Feng Wu, you can't just send the mayor away without consulting me." Feng Wu frowned at Feng Yiran. Feng Yiran snorted. "I invited the honorable mayor of Northern Border City here myself. He's paying this special visit because the crown prince is here. You can't see the man even if you wanted to on any other day. How dare you refuse him?" Chapter 93. What do you think of Feng Wu? Chapter 93. What do you think of Feng Wu? Feng Yiran left in a hurry before Feng Wu could say anything. To him, the mayor was a superior figure. Little Feng Wu. Feng Sun poked Feng Wu in the head. "What?" Rubbing her forehead where Feng Sun had just jabbed her with his finger, Feng Wu glared at Feng Sun with her clear, pretty eyes. "Tisk, tisk." Feng Sun pursed his lips. "That's so not like you. Back then, Feng Yiran used to hang on your every word. You just let him treat you like that now? You're not mad?" Feng Wu rolled her eyes, irritated. "Aren't you people ever going to leave?" Feng Sun gloated. "We were going to leave after that meal, but this is getting more and more interesting. How can we leave now?" "Ha ha ha." Feng Wu smacked her forehead. Turning around, she met Jun Linyuan's brooding eyes. Before she knew it, her back went stiff. For some unknown reason, despite how daring Feng Wu was, whenever Jun Linyuan turned those enigmatic eyes on her, she couldn't help but cringe a little. Seeing that Feng Wu had turned away from him, Feng Sun was bored again. He poked her with a finger, then poked her again. "What?" Feng Wu snapped and threw a dirty look at Feng Sun. "Is it true? Bai Yunfei wants to make you his daughter-in-law?" Feng Sun asked curiously. Feng Wu took a deep breath. Just then, Feng Yiran showed a smiling mayor by into the courtyard. The mayor appeared to be an amiable middle-aged man. He had nice features and was smiling broadly. He seemed to give off a completely harmless air. However, Feng Sun pursed his lips. To be able to rule a city, especially one on the border like Northern Border City, Bai Yunfei had to be so much more than he appeared. As expected, Bai Yunfei went up to them and saluted Jun Linyuan deferentially. Jun Linyuan sat in the host's seat with an impassive face, paying little attention to the all-smiling Mayor Bai. No one found Jun Linyuan arrogant, for he had always been like that. Mayor Bai then greeted Feng's son. "Young Lord Feng, it has been a while since we last met in the Imperial capital. The last time I saw you, you were only 7. You're already a grown-up now." Feng Sun looked the mayor up and down, examining the latter closely. Mayor Bai was a little jittery at Feng Sun's searching look. "Young lord, have I displeased you in some way?" Feng Sun rubbed his chin and asked unhurriedly. "I was told that Mayor Bai has a son." Mayor Bai's stomach lurched. His son had a condition. He had been born with cerebral palsy, and his intelligence remained at the level of a 5-year-old. However, the young man's favorite was pretty girls, and he couldn't eat without one at the table. Hence, the mayor had had his eye on Feng Wu. Mayor Bai looked from Jun Linyuan to Feng Wu. Back then, the entire continent had been informed of the engagement between Jun Linyuan and Feng Wu. Later, the incident with Feng Wu also became public knowledge. Everyone knew that both the royal family and the crown prince himself had given up on Feng Wu. Mayor Bai then saw Jun Linyuan staring at Feng Wu furiously, which delighted him. He had chosen to visit today not only to ingratiate himself with the crown prince, but also to sound out Jun Linyuan's reaction so that he could decide whether or not to force Feng Wu to marry his son later. Judging from the look on the crown prince's face, he abhorred Feng Wu. Mayor Bai smiled broadly at that thought. "That's right, I do have a son. Unfortunately, he still isn't married, and it's been bothering me. His well-being is my biggest concern." Feng Sun gave him a half-smile. "What do you think of Feng Wu?" Chapter 94. Congratulations, sister. Chapter 94. Congratulations, sister. What do you think of Feng Wu? Everyone looked at Feng Sun in astonishment at those words. Jun Lin Yuan's eyes turned a few shades darker. The mayor's eyes lit up. He was here today to get confirmation from Jun Lin Yuan. If the crown prince didn't care about Feng Wu, he would marry the pretty girl to his retarded son right away. Feng Yiran was glad to hear it. Northern Border City was the Feng clan's last resort, for this was where the clan was initially founded. Therefore, the Feng clan had always tried to form an alliance with the mayor of the city. One of the purposes for Feng Yiran's trip here was to make friends with the mayor. Feng Yiran smiled. Xiaowu? Was young Lord Feng recommending Xiaowu to Xiaodong, the mayor's son? You know what? Their names put together sound quite catchy. That's a great sign. Feng Lu had always hated Feng Wu and found the latter a threat to her. Obviously, she knew about the retarded son of the mayor, and the news delighted her. By Liang Dong, right? I've heard of him. They say that he's quite a handsome man. Why, sister, congratulations. They were going to make the marriage happen just like that. Mayor Bai had been a little concerned before coming here. After all, Feng Wu used to be engaged to Jun Lin Yuan, and the mayor would be in a difficult spot if the crown prince still held some resentment. Hence, the mayor had been keeping an eye on Jun Lin Yuan this whole time. The crown prince was as distant and unfathomable as ever. His face betrayed nothing. Feng Sun had always acted as Jun Lin Yuan's spokesperson. When he said that, it had to mean that Jun Lin Yuan didn't care at all. Mayor Bai said with a smile immediately, "Am I right to assume that everyone here is happy about the marriage proposal?" "Of course," Feng Yiran replied instantly. "That's great news. No one will say no to that. Since we're all here, why don't we draw up the marriage contract now?" Jun Lin Yuan's eyes were as black as bottomless pools. Mayor Bai laughed wholeheartedly. "Aren't we rushing things a little here? Shouldn't we send a message to the Imperial capital and ask the chief's opinion?" The current chief of the Feng clan was Feng Huanyu, Feng Wu's eldest uncle and Feng Yiran's father. Putting an arm around Mayor Bai's shoulder, Feng Yiran smiled broadly. "There's no need for that. I'm her eldest brother, which is as good as a father. I'm qualified enough to plan the marriage for her. Moreover, His Royal Highness is here today, and it will be a great honor to have His Royal Highness as a witness." Mayor Bai was over the moon at the suggestion. Feng Yiran knew him too well. He would have nothing to worry about if Jun Lin Yuan signed a contract as a witness. His retarded son had talked about Feng Wu nonstop ever since he laid eyes on her. If it were up to Mayor Bai, he would marry Feng Wu to his son right this moment. "Great. Congratulations, sister." Feng Lu took Feng Wu's hands, unable to control her excitement. Feng Wu smirked inwardly. Did these people really think she was going to do as told? Before she could say anything, Feng Sun interjected with a snort. "Wait." Chapter 95. I'll make you a deal. Chapter 95. I'll make you a deal. "Yes, young Lord Feng." Mayor Bai smiled. As the matchmaker, of course young Lord Feng will be an honored guest at the wedding ceremony. Feng Sun looked at Mayor Bai as if the latter was an idiot. He had thought the mayor a smart guy at first, but as it turned out, he was the biggest fool. "Well, I don't think that's possible." Feng Sun curled his lips. Mayor Bai and Feng Yiran asked in unison, "Young Lord Feng, are you going back to the Imperial capital already?" Feng Sun darted a glance at Jun Lin Yuan, who seemed to be as undisturbed as ever. However, anyone who knew the crown prince well enough would realize that the guy was in a terrible mood. And when the crown prince was in a terrible mood, he wanted to kill someone. Going back, Feng Sun rubbed his chin and glanced at Feng Wu. He wouldn't leave Northern Border City now, even if it wasn't about Feng Wu's cooking. "What then?" Feng Yiran asked curiously. For a young lord like Feng Sun, he could stop the proceedings with a single sentence, but he wasn't going to do that because he had no reason to. He wasn't going to help a proud girl without getting any reward out of it. Feng Sun gave Feng Wu a complacent look. The girl was the one in trouble now, which had nothing to do with him. Hence, he was going to sit by and watch and see if the girl could handle it as effortlessly as she would have been able to 5 years ago. However, Feng Wu grabbed Feng Sun by his hand at that moment and pulled him to one side. "What are you doing? A woman of honor reasons things out instead of resorting to force. Let go of my hand. You'll ruin my virtue," Feng Sun said in a serious tone. Feng Wu stared at him as if she was looking at a mad person. She then lowered her voice and said, "Make this go away for me." Seeing that Feng Wu was asking him for help, Feng Sun heaved with joy. Raising his chin, he said arrogantly, "I'm not the one being forced into a marriage here. Who are you to me? Why should I help you?" Feng Wu said calmly, "I'll make you a deal." Feng Sun was intrigued. "What deal? You like the spicy Sichuan dishes, don't you?" Feng Sun said in exasperation. "Why do you say that?" "I don't." "I see. I'll never cook them for you again then." Feng Sun glared at her. "You can't do that." Feng Wu arched her eyebrows, rested her hands on her waist, and glared back at Feng Sun. "Try me. You're such a rude girl." Feng Sun glowered. "You've got such a fiery temper. A dull beauty? TSK, you were really good at acting." Feng Wu threw another dirty look at Feng Sun. There was no time to bicker with him now, so she lay her cards on the table. "Fix this for me, and I'll make you a whole table of Sichuan dishes. All yours, and yours alone." Feng Sun's eyes lit up at that. He wiped his mouth and almost said yes. However, habit made him shook his head. "One meal? That won't be enough. Let's make it 3. 2, and that's it. I'll take care of it myself if you won't." Feng Wu turned to leave after that. "Hey, wait." Feng Sun pulled Feng Wu back, put his hands on his waist, and stepped out in a lofty manner. "You two, what were you saying?" Feng Yiran and Mayor Bai exchanged looks. Feng Wu and the young lord had been talking secretly in the corner just then. Was she going to try some trick again? "We were talking about the marriage between Feng Wu and Bai Liangdong." Feng Lu replied with an ingratiating smile. Chapter 96, 3 Words. Chapter 96, 3 Words. Since when was Feng Wu going to marry Bai Liangdong? Feng Sun frowned. "No one told me about that. But we only just—" Before Feng Yiran could say anything else, Feng Sun stared at Mayor Bai. "What? Are you going to take my woman now?" Mayor Bai was surprised. "His woman? What was that about?" "Young lord, I don't understand. Are you going to marry Miss Feng?" Mayor Bai's pupils contracted, and he looked anxious. Feng Yiran stared at Feng Sun. Could Feng Wu be that fortunate? Both Feng Lu and Fairy Muyao eyed Feng Wu with jealousy as well. She didn't deserve such good luck. Jun Linyuan kept his gaze on Feng Sun, the look in his eyes indecipherable. Feng Sun shuddered at the question. "What the hell? Me marry her? Are you blind or what?" Mayor Bai was confused. Then, throwing his right arm over Feng Wu's shoulder, Feng Sun raised his chin and said in smug satisfaction, "Little Feng Wu here is my personal cook, and no one is taking her away from me." "Mayor Bai, did you consult me first before making her daughter-in-law?" Mayor Bai was speechless. So was everyone else. No one had expected Feng Sun to step out, let alone take Feng Wu under his wing. Feng Yiran smiled awkwardly. "Young lord, please don't make fun of us. Feng Wu is still the 5th daughter of the Feng clan, if nothing else. She's not anyone's cook. The Feng clan and the Bai family have both agreed on the marriage, and it's settled." Feng Sun smirked. "The Feng clan has agreed? Have you asked little Feng Wu for her opinion?" "My sister will never do it. She's not marrying that retarded son of the mayor. He's a simpleton. He's handicapped. He has cerebral palsy. All he does is drool." Feng Xiaoqi cried out. Everyone fell silent. Although it was common knowledge that the mayor had a retarded son, no one talked about it. Now that Feng Xiaoqi had loudly pointed it out, they could no longer pretend. Before Feng Wu could say anything, Feng Yiran said, "Young Master Bai is a little challenged mentally, but he's a perfect young man otherwise." So, Feng Yiran knew all about Bai Liangdong's condition. Feng Yiran smiled and went on, "But Xiao Wu is useless now. She can't cultivate, which makes her handicapped, too. All she has is that pretty face, and she's very lucky to become a member of the Bai family. Why should she refuse?" Feng Wu had yet to say anything when Feng Yiran waved his hand. "Plus, An elder brother is as good as a father. Since my uncle has passed away, I'm the one to arrange her marriage for her. Her opinion doesn't matter." Feng Wu was speechless. Feng Sun was shocked. He had no idea that the obsequious Feng Yiran could be this arrogant in front of Feng Wu. That was so off-putting. What if I'm the one with objections? Feng Sun smirked. "Young lord, please don't make fun of me." Feng Yiran smiled awkwardly. "I'm not. I object to it, and I object to it strongly. I object with my life." "There, you heard me." Dragging a chair over, Feng Sun put it right in front of Feng Yiran and sat down, crossing his legs and giving Feng Yiran a bite-me look. Mayor Bai glanced at Jun Linyuan. To him, Jun Linyuan's attitude was the one that really mattered. "Your Royal Highness, the young lord is..." Mayor Bai tried to persuade Jun Linyuan to stop Feng Sun. However, Jun Linyuan arched his thick, straight eyebrows and gave Mayor Bai a condescending and arrogant look. He then said 3 words. Chapter 97, You Get Lost. Chapter 97, You Get Lost. You get lost. A hush fell over the courtyard at Jun Linyuan's words. All eyes were on the Crown Prince. After all, Bai Yunfei was the respected mayor of a city like Northern Border City, which made him a high officer of the frontier. Jun Linyuan had just told him outright to scram. The smile was wiped off by Yunfei's face, and he looked like he had been slapped. His face turned red, then green. Feng Yiran didn't see that coming either. He blanched at how blunt Jun Linyuan was. "Your Royal Highness, I thought you didn't like Feng Wu. That was why you called off the engagement, wasn't it?" Jun Linyuan rose to his feet with his right hand behind his back. He raised his chin and said, "Feng the Third." "Yes." Feng Sun hurried to his side. However, Jun Linyuan wasn't talking to him. He snorted and went on. "Step out if you want to compete with him." Anyway, when it came down to it later, Feng Sun was never going to be Jun Linyuan's match. Wow. Feng Sun felt like crying. Boss Jun had stood up for him. Boss Jun treated him so well. He felt like thanking the boss with his own body. "Sob, Boss Jun." Eyes twinkling, Feng Sun tugged at Jun Linyuan's wide sleeve. Jun Linyuan gave him a look of distaste and drew his sleeve back. Only then did Mayor Bai and the others recall the rumor about the Crown Prince. To the Crown Prince, there were 2 kinds of people in this world, his people and the rest. Feng Sun was his man, hence his support. Feng Wu belonged to the other category. Therefore, Jun Linyuan didn't care if she lost the chance at a good marriage, or that she was to be reduced to a cook for Feng Sun's family. Everyone now looked at Feng Wu sympathetically. Feng Wu was speechless. Mayor Bai gave Feng Wu a commiserating glance. 1 word from Jun Linyuan, and Feng Wu had been reduced from a daughter of a respected family to a cook. One couldn't help but wonder what she had done to offend Jun Linyuan. Had it been from anyone else, even His Majesty himself, Mayor Bai would have still tried to work around it. However, he didn't dare utter a word now that Jun Linyuan had made the decision. He was convinced that Feng Wu would be a little cook for the rest of her life. The mayor lost all interest at that thought. He heaved a sigh for both Feng Wu and his retarded son. However, given his scheming nature, the smile was soon back on his face. "Your Royal Highness, I presume that you'll be staying in Northern Border City for a little while. I've had the lingering garden prepared for you. Would you like to take up residence there?" Jun Linyuan and the others had arrived unannounced, depriving the mayor of the opportunity to entertain them. Now that he finally had an audience with the Crown Prince, he wouldn't let the opportunity slip away. Feng Yiran was on the alert at that suggestion. So, the mayor was really here to rob him of the right to host the Crown Prince, not the marriage. Bai Yunfei wanted to play up to Jun Linyuan, but so did Feng Yiran. He had an obligation to his entire clan. At that thought, Feng Yiran also forced a smile. "Your Royal Highness, the Feng Manor is a little outdated, but it's peaceful and quiet here. If your Royal Highness would like, the Feng Manor is..." Mayor Bai waved his hand, cutting Feng Yiran off. "No, of course not. That's so inappropriate. Young Master Feng, your manor is long neglected and in disrepair. I saw some broken roof tiles on my way in. How could His Royal Highness live in a place like this? Before anyone realized it, the merry duo were tearing at each other's throats. Chapter 98. Just leave. Chapter 98. Just leave. Feng Yuan's mouth fell open. He couldn't believe that the same mayor Bai who had been smiling at him only a minute ago could say such mean words. Mayor Bai cupped his fists at Jun Lin Yuan. Your Royal Highness, the Lingering Garden is the best residence we have in a remote place like Northern Border City. If it pleases you, please take your residence there so that I can entertain you properly. Feng Wu was delighted to hear that. Good idea. Go live there. She could start working on her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill as soon as Jun Lin Yuan left. Her life was so miserable as a person without cultivation. Feng Wu wanted to push Feng Sun and the others out the door herself. Before she knew it, she was doing exactly what she was thinking. She reached out to push Feng Sun. However, she realized what she was doing when her fingertips touched Feng Sun's back. She drew back her hand right away. Looking over his shoulder, Feng Sun saw Feng Wu's twinkling eyes and rejoiced. Resting his hands on his waist, Feng Sun laughed. Huh? Little Feng Wu, what did you grab me for? Just say so if you don't want us to leave. You should really learn to speak your mind, you know? Feng Wu. She grabbed Feng Sun. Grabbed. She was pushing him. Pushing. Feng Wu was going to explain when she felt Jun Lin Yuan's intense gaze. A chill ran down her spine, and the hairs on the back of her neck stood up. Feng Wu insisted, I didn't grab you. I was pushing you out the door. Feng Sun guffawed. A person as conceited as him would never believe that. You two-faced woman. I know your type too well. TSK, tisk. Feng Sun waved his hand to silence Feng Wu, then quickly went to Jun Lin Yuan's side. Boss, Jun. Feng Sun whispered something in his ear. Jun Lin Yuan had been frowning before that, because of God knew what. After all, no one had ever been able to see through the Crown Prince. They only knew that Jun Lin Yuan nodded a little in the end. Yeah, Feng Sun was over the moon. Arching an eyebrow, he turned to Feng Wu. Happy now? What? Feng Wu was confused. With his hand behind his back, Feng Sun said to Mayor Bai in smug satisfaction, We're not going to that lingering garden. You can keep it for your son. So, Mayor Bai looked disappointed. We'll be living here. Feng Sun pointed around the Feng Manor and said in a tone of distaste, It's old, shabby, and crowded, but my cook is here. Well, I guess we'll have to make do. Feng Yuan and Feng Lu opened their eyes wide and shook with excitement at the news. However, Feng Wu was baffled. What? They were going to stay? Here? No, no, no. You can't. Feng Wu cried out before she knew it. When could she begin on her 9 transformation spirit restoration pill with these people around? She could never take out the immortal spiritual fruit juice she stole from them. You gotta be kidding me. No, it's just like young Lord Feng said. Our house is way too small, outdated, and skimpy. It's in no condition for honored guests like you to live in. Feng Wu shook her head repeatedly. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.